me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
They shouldn't have given you ashy blokes YouTube.
Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
All right, you dusty denizens. This is something I was supposed to do last week, but I decided to do it today. So for people that don't like fem speak salad making, this is not the show for you. Okay, I'm gonna tell you in advance. It's like a trigger warning. There's gonna be a lot of that, but they want me to cover it, so I'm gonna cover it today. So anyhow, but Louis said he wants to show us something, so I'm gonna pop the link in for Louis. He can come on up and share if he is so inclined. So, all right. In the meantime, Adric, what's going on? Number one, batting second is second gear Eddie. Batting third is Ilyas. What's going on? There's Louis.
Live from New York. This is BGS New York correspondent here at the Statue of the Gynocracy, right here in all her glory. Yeah, look at this.
What do you think about her?
Oh, well, they gave her work boots. Look at it, nothing feminine. Wait. Look, she got Tim's on.
She got Tim's on?
Yeah, she got Tim's. They didn't even give her sandals.
Well, she's not dusty, so.
No, yeah, y'all. Hey, y'all out there, y'all better drop these super chats right now. Nobody else is doing this with you.
Give us a walk around.
All right.
What's the back look like?
Flat.
Did she got junk?
No.
Oh, she's flat. Oh, she's flat
Yeah.
bottom. Oh, come on now. If you're gonna give us a big girl, give us some junk in the trunk.
Well, she got a big back.
She is a big back.
Look at them hands.
Yeah. Oh, she needs some waffles and an apron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave her work boots. I couldn't believe this shit. This is crazy.
Oh, I saw those. In fact, they had those are work boots. Come think of it.
Yeah. Strong and independent. She don't got time to wear sandals. You know.
She just got off her shift. All she needs, she needs that apron.
Yeah.
Is it because they make it look bigger than it is?
Everybody, I was around here like an hour. Everybody's taking pictures around.
Oh, okay.
All tourists, all foreigners. I got some other pictures and video I'm gonna send to y'all.
Okay.
This is crazy.
All right. I didn't think it would be as popular as it was, but I guess when black women make a splash, they make a splash. But that looks like that looks like a typical black woman, though. I have to give it credit. He did a good job of capturing the spirit of the modern American black woman. That's her. All we need is something underneath that says sign language.
Yeah. I got to apologize to her. I forgot my bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos to give tribute at the altar.
And what is that? What is the little box wine to go along with it? Yeah. Yeah. What is it like almost like a deity? Got to have the little liquor and the little food.
Yeah, got to give tribute. Hey,
got to give tribute to the ancestor. Check it out, the white lady. Who's sitting next to it? All right, Louis. Let me go ahead and get started, man.
Peace.
Peace. All right. Oh, hilarious. Quentin, what's going on? Luther, what's happening? Snowman, what's going on? Victor, Turtle Bitcoin, what's going on? Bitcoin might go up again, man, after that bombing, after that thing with the Ukraine. It might go up again. Victor, what's going on? Oh, in fact, the one we're getting ready to do, she's a big back too. So, Indigo Flow, Louis, Brooklyn's finest, what's going on? Prince, Very Little, what's happening? Captain Obvious, what's happening? Most fat. Wait, did y'all see the white women standing next to the big black statue? We're taking pictures, man. Hilarious. Big Trick, what's happening? Free Agent Triple OG, what's happening? Shannon Green, Jesse, Harvest, what's happening? Pharaoh, what's up? See, Pharaoh sees those 34 years around. Oh, okay. Gemini season, I heard that, man. 34 years around the sun. And one more year from freedom. Allie Cross, what's going on? Willie R, what's going on? I appreciate you, Alan. Palm Beach, Mike, what's happening? Martin, what's happening? Neon One, what's happening? They could once again notice they can never simply leave us alone and go buy their bread. You know why? It's because what?
I got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, when I start looking at the charts, man, black men have always married out more than black women. It's not new. I see Rude Boys, what's up? Mr. J. Matt. Shabazz, what's happening? Keith, what's happening? Joe's, what's up? Bureau, what's happening? Barry Hamilton, what's going on? Let's see who else we got. Dr. Els, what's going on? Calvin, what's going on? Have you reviewed her yet, Dr. L? Calvin, what's going on? Low Key Darkness, what's happening? Bo Johnson, what's going on? Oh, you reached out to this doctor on IG, she blocked you. Oh my goodness. Okay. The Black Toxic, what's happening? Victor, what's going on? Luther, what's happening? Yeah, I mean, but it's typical. It might be disgrace to whom? I think it's very apropos. That's what they look like. What up, Tunnel Runner? Tunnel Runner said he left the Matrix a long time ago. Vibes with what's going on? Captain Obvious, what's going on? It's a big back tax. That's a Hispanic woman. Inner Void, what's going on? Jed Barber, what's happening? See, only in my NYC. That's right. Have you been down to the statue, Eddie? I said Gitmo, what's happening? Eric Archer, what's going on? That is embarrassing. Miguel, what's going on? Giant Ku Klux Klan. Y'all ain't nothing, man. A woman that size definitely passes gas extra hard. Probably so, man. And don't let her sit in your face, though. BGS, do you think if a white man took them, they'd still whine about us? No, they wouldn't. No, they would not. They'd be in hog's heaven, literally. said, definitely respectful. Wanted to read her dissertation and speak about this vid. No, she's nuts, man. Jesse Griffin, appreciate you. Black males, what's going on? Lead blockchain, what's happening? C. Jackson, what's going on? Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah, there's a lot of word salad, so that's a trigger warning because there's gonna be a lot of it. But you gotta cover it. You gotta cover it. I'm listening. What's going on? Real Insanity, what's going on? See who else we got. Think or Die. Detroit 313. Tao, what's going on? Dusty Hotep, what's happening? Uh, Mr. Z pulling up. Hey, Mr. Z. Let's see. Where is it at? Where is it at? I got one for you.
I knew you'd come back.
I trust you didn't lose sleep over it.
Worrying about you be like wondering if the sun gonna come up. Ain't about to wild out over it.
That's with Mr. Z. I knew you show for this one. They still would. Yeah, now they wouldn't. They would leave us alone. They would have nothing to say about us. Babu, what's happening? Em, what's going on? Rest in peace to the late divested Sadie Robinson. Okay. That's it. See. Uh, John Report 215, what's going on? Black woman two loves in white validation and black men suffering. Oh yeah, the two loves. That's true. I think it's less about us suffering. See, Barry Little says BGS always something with these feminist broad stacks. LAPD SWAT, what's going on? The Hawk TV, what's happening? Who else we got? That's it. All right, let's go ahead and get it started since we're 15 minutes in. Let's go ahead and boot her up. I skipped some of the preamble because that was, even I could only take so much word salad. This is Mr. Z's territory. Only he can actually take this kind of stuff. For the weave and sandals fun. I heard that. And Lava, what's up? Be just paying my tax. Ever see the 70s black film Killers of Sheep? No, I had never saw that one. If so, how was it? Heard it was good. Can't find it. I never saw it. Never heard of it. There's Charles, and here we go. I said, what do you think about Repubs trying to the Tory Lanez case with new evidence? Will this cause black men to reconsider voting right because they have seen a lot of old hustlers that are freed by the GOP? That might, but the biggest reason men or actually black men are actually going to the GOP is because of benefits. It's like you don't benefit from this. Okay, one thing I'm probably going to do is remember what I was telling you guys about DEI and how you shouldn't. DEI might be a good thing because it's going to level the playing field. Okay. Unfortunately, black women lost 300 jobs, but guess who gained 100,000? Black men. Okay. Black men actually gain jobs when black men are actually losing jobs, and that's because of Trump and DEI. Is because when you just go by qualifications, men will normally beat out. Will normally win out because we have to, especially black men. Black men don't get jobs unless you went out. Nobody, very seldom anybody actually gives us something. They'll give it to a black woman first. All right, here we go. Which Austin Hollimer video?
It did not matter that he was willing to sacrifice black women. What mattered, right, was that he was a black man and his life was cut short. And so I say all of this to say, right, that for so many of us, we hold this idea of self-power and this unrealized potential of black men as the kind of cornerstone of our community.
Unrealized potential of black men is a cornerstone of the community. Uh, yeah, you want to magically turn us into white men, and that's not going to happen. That's what's really going on.
In which our communities, the ways that we address violence or silence violence, is built around this belief that if we give Black men enough space and time to get their shit together, then eventually all Black people will have their thing.
That's not what was said by black feminists. That's a lie. That's a lie. It has nothing to do. Basically, you black feminists thought that if you give white women enough power, you got behind them, that white women were actually going to correct the America and make it more fair, more equitable for everybody. That shit didn't happen. Okay, you did not give black men the time and space and resources to get their shit together. That's a lie.
But we all know that that's not the case. And so where does this leave us? So I want us to actually think about, right, where do we situate the Black woman, the Black gender marginalized within self-power? And so given this, those of us who are not Black cisgender men face an unusual predicament. The violence that actually conditions our living, this violence that makes us recognizable as Black, what makes us Black is a set of conditions of violence and violation. So that same violence.
In fact, this is what she did her dissertation on: Black gendered violence. Okay, that's how come she talks about it all the time, with no proof, but Black gendered violence. Okay,
conditions our living that makes us recognizable as Black to each other and also writ large within society. It's the same violence that also precludes Black women and Black girls, especially, from being seen as victims. And that violence.
See, in other words, is being seen as victims. Remember, we always go back to what? Okay, as Master Yao says, that Black women are emotional masochists. Okay, they're the eternal victims in every narrative. Okay, and when it's not anything else, guess what? Okay. I said somebody, thank you, BGS. I listened to a lot of your old content while at work overnight. You have so many bangers. I try, but you know what? This is why I play this every day, okay? So that you get used to it. Because guess what? It's always going to be what?
I'm done. I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
In other words, when all else fails, Black men are the problem, right? And they're the victims.
Violence is required by our oppressors and by those who are close to us. So many people want
see how she's trying to equate white supremacy and so-called patriarchy or sexism or whatever it is. Same. Polly Mary's been doing this shit, man, since the 1930s. It's not new.
To talk about the attack on Black men. They want to talk about the quote unquote lynching of modern Black men, et cetera, and position Black men in ways in which they are perpetual victims, while also they're supposed to be the leaders of our community, while also they're supposed to be the leaders of our household, but also we need to be able to support them. And also we need to be able to give them everything they have. We also need to be able to.
It's because you want something. When you're not giving anything, okay? If that was the case, then there would be no Black boys would have more education. Black boys would have more of the scholarships. Black boys would have better schools, okay? We don't get that. They're not giving us anything. That's a lie.
Constantly and consistently infantilize them while also give them.
You don't infantilize them, okay?
Our bodies and our minds and our spirits as a substrate to use to have their power.
It's substrate to use to have their power, right? Okay. It's always our minds, our bodies. Basically, if you didn't want to have sex with us, then none of that would happen.
And the reason why this happens and how it happens in particular for Black women is facilitated by the historical position.
A burger bastard, education. Okay, not really. Come on, man. Okay. If you want education to be over, go down to a third world country where you don't even make it out of 6th grade. That's bullshit.
Of Black women as the ultimate killable subject and object. And so the possibilities for us who are victims and survivors of sexual and gender violence are limited by whether people are able to recognize that we are even victims. Societal recognition of
they don't feel they're recognized as victims. So, and that's so when a black man gets killed or he gets beat or he gets brutalized by the police, okay, they get upset is because that's their role to be victims and not ours. Just more and more it seems to me that black women are deciding to essentially crash the race thoughts. Um, I don't think they know what they want. Is because they hitched their wagon to white women, and then over the last I would say 8 9 years, white women have screwed them, and now the white man's out of money and they're stuck. So now it's time to come after us.
our victimhood. And so in my work, I talk about the kind of ultimate victim and the criteria that goes into
there you go, the ultimate victim. They want black American women to be the ultimate victim. This is one thing. Some things about this talk is very apropos. Is because she's studying and saying what most women won't say out. Most black women won't say out loud. Okay, they want to be victims because throughout this whole thing, this is just 10 minutes. Okay, and all she's talked about is black women as victims and wanting to be victims.
Calculus of what it means to be a victim. And so in that calculus, we take into account one's racial, class, gender, ability, and killability. And this ultimately produces a spectrum that places on one side the white, able-bodied, middle to upper class, cisgender woman, and she is the ultimate victim, where she is not unkillable, right? Because white women are killed by white men, right? They're killed by others as well, I'm sure, right? So they're not unkillable in that sense, right? But they are kind of in this spectrum of killability, mobilized as disposable. So they're useful for maintaining white racial superiority through birthing white children.
That part she did get right. That's what white women are valued for. But disposability, come on.
She's seen as innocent by way of her existence. And so many Black men, especially those who want to be seen as perpetual victims of racialized violence, will point to the histories in which the ultimate victim white woman pointed to a Black man or a Black boy or a Black woman, which they don't talk about that, but on the street and said, yeah, so he raped me and now this person is strung up from a tree and dismembered.
So that's history. Okay, we didn't make that up. To me, this is just another rebrand, an attempt to reinstitute intersectionality.
And white people sit around and have picnics and revel in their.
In other words, basically, okay. According to her, when Amara told you they want the same status as white women, okay. They want to become the ultimate victim.
Power. They love to point to that history and name themselves as the ultimate victim of violence. This white woman, this liar, the person who was protected through violence and domination of Black men, of other folks, of other people, is always innocent. And her innocence is guaranteed by way of her existence. And on her path to self-reclamation and or self-determination, she can exact revenge, or others can exact revenge of her violation, right, through any means necessary. And so a good example of this would be the movie series Kill Bill, where the actress, she kills whoever is involved with the man who tried to kill her, who raped her and tried to kill her, right? This kind of white vengeance is what I call it in my work, that is a white feminist vengeance that is allowed to commit violence by any means necessary as a form of self-reclamation. This
and what she wants is the same power.
Is impossible for those of us who sit on the other end of the spectrum, right? Those of us who are the descendant of the African woman throughout the diaspora. So due to histories of slavery and colonialism in which the African woman and her descendants who birth, right, their wombs are marked as the carriers of the slave and of Blackness, right? We are then denied victimhood. We're denied innocence.
See, I told you, denied victimhood. What did I tell you? They want to be seen as victims, okay? In other words, that's the ultimate power for her, right? She wants to be she wants black women to be the ultimate victim, to where men will kill and the system will kill and protect her. In other words, she can point out and blame whoever she wants to blame, and point out, and that violence will be exacted upon that person, and whatever reason it is. Like, look at, that's like she pointed out, Cassidy and P Diddy. Okay, they want that power. They want the same power. That's what the Me Too shit is. Okay, they want that power. In other words, believe all black women, right?
We are denied a form of self-possession that white victims of violence are allowed. This is what transforms us through the singularity of the Middle Passage to a martyr, a savior, property, protector, and sacrifice.
Well, they think, okay, the doc, she thinks this is something that they point to. Like you said, aggressive begging. In other words, if white men feel sorry enough for her, okay, then he will exact the same kind of power, control, and violence to control other people that he does for the white woman. Okay, that's why she calls the white woman the ultimate victim. Okay, that is the ultimate status. That is the ultimate status of white womanhood. Okay, the ultimate protective status. Said black women are mad because they don't get they don't DIE right. No, what they want is what they want is what they call, what I would call institutional chivalry. Okay, so in other words, institutional chivalry, where a knight will sacrifice his life and kill or maim or destroy or hurt on the behalf of the lady. Okay, his lady. Okay, and white women are seen as the lady in waiting, right? So that's what and so in her mind, and when she's probably just expressing what other black feminists actually think. Okay, BLM used to talk about this all the time.
Because we do not have access to a form of womanhood that would call
See,
for our
here
protection.
we go. We don't have
We then are produced to fit into all these other.
Say that again, black girl. Okay. She just said it. Okay. Say it again. She just said it. Clip it. Okay.
Right. We are then denied victimhood. We're denied innocence. We are denied a form of self-possession that white victims of violence are allowed. This is what transforms us through the singularity of the Middle Passage to a martyr, a savior, property, protector, and sacrifice. Because we do not have access to a form of womanhood that would call for our protection.
See, we do not have access to the form of womanhood that will call for our protection. Okay? If you let them talk long enough, if you let them talk long enough, okay? If you want to come up, Doc, you sure can. If you want to come up and comment, you can. I don't know what you're doing, but if you want to come up, you sure can. Hurwitz, she wants the unicorn to place its head in her lap. Yeah. Okay. What did I say about the myth of white womanhood, right? Okay. I agree. What I'm saying is they not only envy white woman's chivalrous treatment, they also envy white man's power. Thus, they want both in the black community. They don't care how they get it. If they could toss the black community and obtain white man's power, they could. They would.
We then are produced to fit into all these other.
They don't give a shit about the black community. They don't.
Categories and more. The African woman and her diasporic descendant is exposed to sexual violence, and her exposure to sexual violence and her ability to survive it are what condition her blackness in her life. Therefore, she does not have a symbolic or real bloody revenge story. She either survives the violence or dies as an unfortunate.
Go back and look at about 5 or 6 Pam Grier movies where she did it. Even the last Pam Grier movie that they did. Okay. Well, she had a revenge story. That's bullshit.
but never unforeseen consequence of it. And in the paradox only made
And in fact, Kill Bill was modeled after black female exploitation movies. So I don't know what she's talking about, right? That is selective uh, reasoning by feminists. How come feminists are selective about what they bring out? Okay, she used Kill Bill, but she never talks about Pam Grier and Coffee and other movies where Pam Grier exacted revenge. Okay, bloody revenge.
made true through the logics of anti-black
Jackie
gender
Brown, yeah,
violence,
Jackie Brown,
both her survival and
made by Quentin Tarantino, and Quentin Tarantino said that Kill Bill was modeled exactly after black exploitation movies. Okay, and basically, if Pam Grier had been young enough, Pam Grier would have played uh, uh, the person in Kill Bill. Okay, selective reasoning, selective memory, because a white woman getting revenge like that was not considered ladylike back in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't.
her death are deemed necessary. Her inability to claim victimhood is the legacy of being marked as cargo and thrown overboard into the sea, of being raped and expected to survive, and of being raped and being expected to reproduce, being renamed death and chattel, of being raped and being expected to not fight back. We know a woman is black by what can be done to her. And so here on this slide, I have a singularity, which is a physical, like quite literally the science of physics, event in which things enter or move through on one side and they come out on the other side, like infinite possibilities. And so this figure here symbolizes that single point through which whatever enters comes through and becomes infinite. And Christina Sharp names the Middle Passage and the violence that happens therein, right? The Middle Passage, which is the part of the transatlantic slave trade that took captive Africans from the continent of Africa and transformed them into slaves in the New World as a singularity that produced infinite possibilities that construct and constrain our world. And so for the African woman who becomes captive and her descendants who are the carriers and the bearers of slave and of blackness, right? Our survival of violence and of
Yeah, that's like I don't. I used to try to do scripts, but I would wind up sounding like her, so I stopped doing scripts because she sounds like she's reading. Okay. BTS black women, Gucci boot warriors, tax. It's like button pedestrians. I heard that. It is hard to listen to her, but yeah, because she sounds like she's reading. Okay. I don't know if she is or not, but yeah. No, that's not how the wormhole looks, but that is her version of it. Okay. Anyhow,
harm is not seen as virtuous. This is what so many Black authors talk about when we talk about we were never meant to survive. Like we are meant to endure violence, but our survival is not seen as something that is worth celebrating or even morally good. But the violence is necessary to keep the world that is turning. And so the African woman and her diasporic descendants' labor is necessary to bring about new worlds, new
I don't think she's reading. I think she talks like that. I really do.
technologies, and new ways of being. Her death and her violation are rendered necessary collateral for the world that is to continue to exist. And one example of this is the non-urgent response to the mass rapes and suicides of women in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Sudan, and other genocides that are happening at the same time as what is occurring in Palestine. And
As it was occurring in Palestine, okay. When a population goes to war, the whole population suffers. It's not just they don't just go after the men. And you're supposed. Well, black women think that and this is one thing that I said. I said we don't owe you an our war. In other words, a war, a racial war. Okay, is because black women have this idea that if black men go out and fight for them, they will only kill black men. Okay, they only will do away with black men. And in my opinion, if you look at Gaza, that's not true. Okay, yeah, either either we all fight and die, or none of us fight and die. Okay, uh, uh, the Ukraine is war is not a total war. Otherwise, they'd be hitting population centers.
There are so many things to say here, right? I say that this violence is constituent, right, of the world is because what is happening in those African countries, the violation and domination that's happening there, is what produces the technology through which you could even see me or see the harm that is happening to others all around the world. But
a lot of stuff doesn't make sense. You know, she just throws stuff in there. That's why I call it word salad.
anyway, let me move on. In addition to this, right? So not only being recognized as victims, our survival being not seen as virtuous, our death as something that is just kind of like a silent building block for the world. If we do want to call ourselves back to ourselves, right? We want to recognize that the harm that has been done has harmed the integrity of our body, spirit, mind, right? That reclamation must happen without harming anyone else in our beloved community.
What?
Because
What?
the Black woman is marked as martyr, sacrifice, and property.
When has she ever been martyred? When have black women ever been marked as martyrs? I said, Horowitz says, do people get paid to filibuster the Senate? If so, you got this, sis. She sounds definitely like she's like the poets these days that force cadence to try to convey impact. It's just babble. Yeah, right now it's just babble.
Without a self that was
But the thing is, she's telling on herself, even though she doesn't think she is. She's trying to be careful, but she's telling on herself.
always already not hers to possess, she must pursue her self-determination and her freedom without violence, especially towards those who violate her. What this means is that Black women are actually expected to handle restitution in the unique way that only a martyr savior can. First,
You know, and she's trying to place black women as martyrs, as self-sacrificing martyrs that should, for the black community, that should be acknowledged and worshipped. Okay, the black woman is good.
right? She must recognize and validate the purpose of her sacrifice, right? There is a purpose to her violation. And even if that purpose is to allow a Black man to feel
What up, Dr. T?
as if he is powerful or dominating, and that is good. And so she must recognize and validate that the purpose of her sacrifice is to allow a Black, cisgender, presumably heterosexual man
Support for your ability to listen to her throwing stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. Well, the thing is, she's telling on herself, though. The thing is, how she's trying to frame it is what her ultimate goal is. Her ultimate goal is to be seen by black men and by white men as the ultimate victim. Okay.
to do the
In other words, she's supposed to be the self-sacrificing savior, much as Jesus is, right?
good thing of pursuing Black capitalist power. At the same time, she also must submit to her role as one who elevates the social position of her subjugated, often Black cisgender man assailant.
Oh, really? When has that ever happened? Well, if that's what they're supposed to be doing, they need to get to work because they are awful at it. Then, if that's the case.
So while she's being violated, she recognizes and validates the purpose of that violation. Then she also works to elevate the social position of her assailant. And she must do.
Oh, really? When does that ever happen? Okay. And so, in other words, you black men fight and die for civil rights and affirmative action, and you hand it over to the white woman, and that's you elevating black men. Okay. Uh, and I very seldom hear any feminists come out and try to elevate black men. Maybe Dr. T's heard it. If so, I've rarely heard it. Okay.
I've rarely heard it without a dig. I mean, even in her description a second ago, the last word was assailant.
Yes.
Everything leading up to that, might have been somewhat kosher, but she ends it with assailant. But I literally only caught about a minute before I made my first post, which you read. So I haven't seen this from the beginning.
Okay. She had a preamble and with slides and stuff like that. And since I'm not going to be up here for 2 hours, I'm not going to go through all the preamble. I wanted to get to the meat of what she's talking about. So this is maybe so I may cut off maybe a good 25 minutes of her preamble.
But you mentioned her dissertation. So is she a new PhD? I don't know anything
Yeah,
about.
she's pretty much a new PhD. I think she's 29 or 30, something like that.
Yeah.
So she's fairly new, and in anthropology, um, she got her. She went to graduate from Duke in anthropology and got her PhD from Columbia. So I don't think so. She couldn't be too far off from being too new, unless she's brilliant like you. Then that's a different story.
I mean, she sounds like a lot of. I mean, I've been on a lot of PhD committees. She sounds like she's fresh off one. That's why she speaks in jargon. They haven't. When you finish your dissertation, you're still steeped in jargon. So she sounds like she's still trying to learn how to wield it.
Okay.
People who have mastered it don't need to use it.
Okay.
You can, but you don't need to. It flows naturally. But because she sounds the way she does, this tells me she's new.
She hasn't learned how to translate it.
No. Not in common speech yet.
Not common speech yet. Okay.
If you can't say this to your grandmother and explain it, then you haven't mastered it yet.
You haven't mastered it yet. Yeah. Yep. I agree. I would agree. And what she's saying is not that complex. It's not.
No, it isn't. But this bringing in the singularity and shit, that's dissertation posing. But you're trying to make something way more complex than it is, and you're trying to justify a set of politics.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to, you're trying to be subtle with, but the politics are glaring. Everybody is a problem. I mean, this is intersectionality 101. Everybody is an oppressor to Black women. So white men, white women, and Black men all oppressed. I mean, this is
oppressed,
basic level, intersectionality.
And she's trying to be a queen victim.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a subjugated assailant attack equals attack dog.
There you go.
Was it a persecution complex? The savior complex, all wrapped up in one. Why throwing your men under the bus? Yeah.
Yeah.
If the backup always blame him.
But this goes back to stuff you were talking about years ago with the gynocracy. They want to be in charge, but they don't want to be held accountable for being in charge.
Right.
They throw rocks, they hide their hands. I mean, even to this day, they're still arguing about how they're oppressed by Black men, misleading the community off of their abuse. But when you frame the gynocracy the way you have over the years, that's clearly not the case. But they want that. That's what I was saying earlier. They want that power to be in control, but they also want what you outlined is that chivalrous status white women have.
Yeah.
Where everybody fights on their behalf.
So my bet is Pumped and Dumped by Thaddeus Thundercock Black or Chadwick Wonderfallis, which calls their villain Black Men Must Pay story arc. I'll place a month's earnings on that parlay. Yeah, she's been through it. Okay, she's I think she was broken well before she got to this point. She sounds like it. She sounds like she went through something in her childhood. Something in the eyes you can always tell.
Yeah, they usually have. Yeah.
All of this while never showing the extent of her.
And see, where are we? Because in the beginning you can see because she calls herself a healer and energy worker and stuff like that.
Oh Jesus! So she's a prophetess and is all of that in it too?
Yeah. That's at the very beginning when she introduces herself.
Wow.
Suffering, right? By being silent about it. Because if she is not silent about it, then she contributes to these legacies of white people who have violated Black men. And if you're with me still, right, you might be like, damn, bitch, this don't make no fucking sense, right?
It doesn't.
But this is what...
At least she's self-aware.
Black women, Black girls, Black queer and trans people, those who are gender marginalized, who are dominated by violence, are fucking expected to do. We are expected to be silent and see our sacrifice and the sacrificing of our bodies as necessary. We are expected to not only be silent, but allow the learning of Black men to not violate us to happen upon our backs or through our wombs, through our bodies, through our anuses.
Yeah,
Yep.
all of this self-righteousness, and yet you'll hear nothing about what we've been seeing in the last couple decades, which has always happened, but it's now just being seen, where Black women and women in authority are abusing underage males at record numbers.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you could literally do a video every day of a new teacher being caught exploiting Black boys or boys, period. And Black women are not immune from that by any means.
No.
But you'll
No.
notice in her little tirade a second ago, her little Christian minister, attempt to give a mini sermon, she doesn't talk about the role women play in exploiting who they are capable of exploiting, which is often children and underage individuals. And they use the system to attack, grown men, but still.
Well,
No.
because Black women as a group has not, they haven't really produced anything. Okay.
Mm.
And according to them, if outside of sex, their only self worth is a platform for the hopes, ambitions, and whatever for Black men. So they are the sacrificial lamb or the blood that fuels so-called Black men's success. Okay, because there's nothing else they don't have anything else to show for it.
This is
Okay.
this is at least 45 years old, especially in relation to the academy. It's a very old set of tropes, and I'm curious how they're still playing the same card in the midst of their downfall. I mean, we're watching the fall of the gynocracy.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Because um, if you look around the world, in fact, I want to do a video on that, how feminism does not work, and feminism, because I don't know if you saw it, the video I did with the feminists talking about feminism in the feminism in schools and in science, and how they changed the culture, and how,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
grade inflation, all that kind of stuff. I wanted
Mhm.
to actually do a video on it, and it actually shows why that so-called the powers that be needed to deconstruct this is because um, when we were in this, it had this big huge lead on the rest of the world. We in this bubble. Okay, we could actually afford to do it. Right now, the world's caught up and past us. Okay, to compete, we can no longer do this. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're gonna have to deconstruct this female-led feminist thinking and actually start basically financing and put money and resources into productive boys. It's the only way you're gonna keep up. Otherwise, this whole system is gonna implode.
And I think the pendulum has already started. I mean, I know you've read up on the San Francisco pushback against the grading
Great,
practices they've been using.
yeah.
Yeah, they're just now starting to turn it again. I mean, because I think you said in that very show you mentioned,
Uh-huh.
the outcomes are not measurable. They're not. I mean, what's being measured is not producing anything of value.
It's not producing any value. Yeah. Does she really believe this, or is it a grift? No, she believes it. Doc can tell you. He knows a lot of women just like this. They believe
Oh
it.
God, this is cookie cutter.
This cookie cutter. Yeah. This she uh, if she had 20 toes, she'd be 20 toes down, not just 10. Okay. MXINF. This the type of large, hungry Black woman that thinks eating cleaner and exercising to attract any man is offensive.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, uh kind of.
What I can tell you is I've been a
Mm-hmm.
member of the National Council for Black Studies
Oh,
since
okay.
my mentor brought me in about 1994, 95, somewhere in there. And they
Mm-hmm.
hold annual conferences in Africana Studies.
Mm-hmm.
I literally watched the ascendancy of this archetype
You're right.
literally not only take over the organization, but take over Africana Studies. And
Mm-hmm.
these are the women that sit on hiring committees.
Yes, yes, they do.
These are the women that sent Tommy Curry to Scotland.
Yes.
These are the very women. This is the mind state that we're witnessing. So yeah, this is cookie cutter right here.
Yeah, I know you will recognize her. I mean, well, this is like I said, this is your life. So, this is like for us, it might be Friday, but for you, this is Tuesday.
This is Tuesday work.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And these are the ones that, and I think you mentioned last week, you were talking about how men in the academy are trying to hold on to their jobs, and
Yes.
invoke a lot of silence on their response. This is what they're being silent for, because she is the chair of the department. She
Yes.
is the ones coming out of grad school with the doctorates who are being hired at high rates by Black women in position
Yes.
She is the one that's going to sit on dissertation committees and deny Black men who want to cite people like yourself, myself, Curry, others who are doing work centering Black men. These are the women that will pressure them out of grad school after they've taken courses, paid for those courses or taken loans. They will pressure Black males out of grad school because they have to sit on those committees. They are the gatekeepers, as somebody in the comments just said.
Right.
This is it. This is what we're facing here.
Yeah, I mean, much the same thing that the woman said last week, right? The white woman said last week. These are the gatekeepers, okay?
Yeah.
These are the ones that shape the discussion. Not only in the academy, also you just saw this in politics, okay? With Kamala Harris, okay? In fact, I think she did do a video on Kamala Harris, okay? In politics, I might check that one out. But yeah, but I'm saying this is the thing is, I think she's too young to lie. Okay, she hasn't learned to lie yet. You can tell she's pretty raw.
She's almost a neophyte in a certain respect. I mean, except she's just been granted the level of master within the context of the structure she's in the academy. She's got a doctorate. She's at that level, but she has the belief of a neophyte. She hasn't really been challenged yet with genuine life experience or whatnot. These are the ones that they tout and passport. But
they got to sit through these lectures for a living tax.
You have no idea. No idea. I mean, the way I end up dealing with women like this is they have to deal with my students. So, when they're teaching classes, they have to answer questions that my students ask in their classes. That's how these things happen. They don't, something like if she was hired at my university, we don't debate one-on-one.
Okay.
It's done through students who have learned a certain amount in each course and have to grapple with that information.
So they're like pawns, huh?
Yeah, they're pretty much like pawns in a chess game. She's newly been minted as a doctor. I suppose I haven't looked into her, but yeah, this is standard. And the question really, since the election of Trump, is what happens as this is being cycled out.
Right.
That's the question I'm curious about, because this has not happened in my lifetime, and you're a little older than me. You tell me if it's something I missed, but I've not seen Black women ejected from their status as buffer class before. I've not seen it.
It's never happened. It's never happened. Black women have always been a buffer class. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They've always been a buffer class. They've been with the buffer class with Massa. They've always been a buffer class. So, this probably is the first time. This is why they're so shocked. And the white women are too afraid to say anything because they know they know that the game is up. Okay,
but that's why this video caught my attention a moment ago, because in 2025 you're dropping 1985 talking points.
Yes,
and you've just been ejected from buffer class status. So I'm just real curious, how that works. That's why I was sitting in listening when I first I was like, oh, you could have given this lecture in 1989.
You could have,
and it would have fit in.
Yeah, because the language hasn't changed that much, and she's throwing out all the buzzwords.
Yeah, she is a typical Black feminist. You see the picture she got behind her, right?
And
their eyes are watching God.
Oh, their eyes are watching. Yeah, Zora Neale Hurston.
Zora Neale. She's a typical feminist, Black feminist.
Yeah, Zora Neale would be disgusted by her talking points, though.
They don't deal with the reality of the figures. They deal with what they've reconstructed in them. So Zora Neale has become a construct that Black feminists remold into whatever they want.
Into whatever they want. Yeah. I mean, it's the fun. Just the one of the last quotes Zora Neale had was the two freest people in America are white men and Negro women, right? Because they do what they want. Okay. Well, they would never admit that.
One last thing before you go back to it. Barry Hamilton in the comments just said something interesting. He said, this is the same old womanist babble.
It is, yeah.
In the 90s and the early 2000s, when you went to Black Studies conferences, you actually had two factions of Black women. You had Black feminists and you had Black womanists. And they would go to war. And they would have heated debates that would sometimes border on physical. This is where you get the Dr. Valethia Watkins, You know, a lot of those kind of sisters, you used to have that, and you could go to those conferences and sit in on those sessions and see the war. Now, and I think Dr. Neal pointed this out, you're hard pressed to find womanists. I know women who are in the academy who identify as womanists, and you can't tell the difference between them and Black feminists. What she's doing here is typical Black feminism, the womanist voice. Now, Alethea Watkins is still strong. She's still doing her thing, but she doesn't have the cadre, at least that I've seen in the last 20 years anymore, that have her position.
It's because they the white women and the white educational system shifted and started what is called elite capture. Basically, they incorporated womanism into feminism.
Yeah.
So they took elements and that's how come they spread it out into queer, cisgender, homosexuality, all that kind of stuff. So they took intersectionality and womanism and just blended it into feminism.
And its highest stage was BLM.
Yes.
A lot of those women in BLM used to be womanists.
Yes.
Now they've been completely absorbed, and they're talking about the elimination of the nuclear family. This is why her talking points are for everybody, including Gaza, except for heterosexual Black males.
Right.
She can have an international agenda in her program, but it doesn't include heterosexual Black men. We are still monsters.
Yeah, she mentioned the Congo, right? So about the women being, raped and killed, which they are, in the villages, they are, okay. But the thing is, the vast majority of people being killed are not women, okay.
Exactly.
Them soldiers not coming into the village looking for women. Okay?
Exactly. And we saw that with Boko Haram. They were worried about, girls being kidnapped, but the boys were either being killed or drafted.
Yeah. And basically, that's what M23. There are what they really try to do is push those men back into those mines. Okay, that's really what they're there for. They're not they keep, if a woman decide to have pleasure with a woman, that's a side note. Okay, that's not really what they're there for. That's not what they're funded to do.
And that's so key what you just said, because feminists are masters at taking things that they're marginal in and making themselves primary. So you lose the global focus because she's turned this conversation into her experience and has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, that's it. Leon says she wants Black women to be held accountable. I'm reading the government bill on Black male accountability, 13th Amendment plus 10K pages. Change the font and give her space. Okay, I heard that. Yeah. Well, the thing is that I'm sure as she gets older, she will refine her theories, because right now it doesn't make sense. Okay, she's Doc will tell you she's all over the place. So what she's doing is she's trying to combine a lot of buzzwords and theories and mash it all into one, and it's not making coherent sense. Even though even she said it, okay, it doesn't make sense the way she's saying it.
But her academic and social bubble are going to reinforce this unless she's an outlier. And usually the outliers are like married to men and end up having a son. Yes. Those are the potential outliers. But if she's in a lesbian relationship, or if she stays single and she associates professionally and socially with other feminists, she'll get better, but her talking points will pretty much stay like this. She'll get smoother,
Yeah, well, hopefully she does, man, because she's all over the place right now. Okay.
Yeah.
And basically she can't get a date, or she can't keep a date. That's what it is. She can get a date, she can't keep one, because those denithanons are huge. Okay, I have to give her credit.
But you got to go back to what you used to talk about almost a decade ago when you talked about the nest.
Yes.
Let her have a son.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And let her witness how the world treats her son. You'll see a shift in how she speaks. But if it doesn't connect to her emotionally, she'll stay oblivious.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And women mostly connect through their children. That's very true. Yeah. Let's go back and play a little bit more. Because I know Doc, I know your ears are bleeding right now. So. But but the thing is, you get paid to listen to this stuff.
And I'm sorry if that seems graphic, but this is where the fuck we are.
Wait, who hurt you, Keisha?
And it is disturbing. It's disturbing. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. And we see people clamoring and calling out for protection. And we are calling for protection for the very same people who see our violations as necessary. So here we are in this space where the Black woman cannot expect protection, even as her silence and her body provides it.
Wait a minute. Okay, so
God damn it.
wait a minute. So they really believe that they're protecting black men from the elements.
No, they've just found a comfortable talking point that they can use to shame black men and garner sympathy from liberal elites.
Okay.
This is bullshit. There is no protection she's providing for black men. You know what they invoke when you press them about that? The fact that they'll go to protests.
Okay.
And I don't think it's happening as much anymore, but 10, 15 years ago, a brother got shot, or you'd see a protest and there'd be a good number of women. But that usually would happen when the mother was involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, they began to use the fact that they were at those protests to say we protect black men, and black men don't do anything for us.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see 3 cases of black men that either went to jail or died protecting black women, but they'll just sweep that under the rug and reinforce the narrative that we've done nothing for them
to protect them. Yeah. In other words, no quid pro quo. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I just saw the video the other night on Twitter, and it's an old one, but the guy who climbed up 18 stories, 17 stories on the building to save his mother from a fire.
Yeah.
But somehow that doesn't make her analysis, right?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. It's just rhetoric and it's bullshit. This is all politics, but you've been framing how the political landscape has been changing, and it doesn't seem like many of these black feminists are paying attention to that. They haven't adjusted their talking points. They haven't. This is the same old shaming tactics.
It was just like in Ukraine. They're doubling down, even though the theory doesn't work. They just double down on it. Okay, if we keep doing it long enough, it'll crack.
Right.
Just keep fighting. We'll just keep, sacrificing people. Eventually, we'll wear them down. So they're just doubling down on their theories. Uru says the fact that Walker created womanism lets you know that it meant no good for black men and boys. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, basically, womanism, in my opinion, was created is because white women actually took most of the benefits from civil rights and affirmative action and started leaving black women out in the cold. So they had to split off. They had to call it something else.
Well, and you did have a faction of black women that were quite aware of the history of white women. And when white women offered or tried to seduce them into what we call that Faustian bargain, there were a subset of black women that were like, no, these are white women. They never forgot.
Yeah, those are the ones that actually joined the Panthers.
Right.
Yeah.
But they eventually got shouted down and absorbed. But there are some, you can still find individuals like that. But there were early on, there were some of those white women that were like, black women that were like, no, if you're over here, there's a reason.
Yeah. They wanted power. That's why they kicked a lot of white women out of SNCC.
Yeah, they tried to, but part of the issue with all of this, man, is it's not even large F feminism, capital F feminism. It's lowercase f feminism. The stuff that they absorb through Oprah, the stuff that they absorb through family court practices. It's the low key feminism that makes it so difficult to fight, because like my mother, she's never called herself a feminist. She's never read a book about black feminism.
Yeah.
And yet every policy she could take advantage of that benefited women at the expense of men, she did.
She did, yeah.
That's the problem you're dealing with. Even as they're being ejected, they're still pressing the same old buttons for their own benefit.
They don't, other than taking accountability and doing a reset, which they don't want to do, and women don't like doing, what's their choices? I told my daughter, she's going through something. I said, women don't like to take L's.
No. But they also don't see actually working with men as a W, which it very well could be if you actually did.
It's which men. It's not working with men. Which men?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There are more and more brothers who are kind of approaching things in a different way.
Yeah.
And we've been instrumental. I don't care what anybody says, in producing that discussion amongst black men. Those are the brothers you need to talk to. but they're unwilling.
The thing is that this, in fact, Dr. Reefer sent me something from the UN. I'll forward it to you so you can read it yourself. Um, about the manosphere penetrating, uh, uh, through Twitch sites and gamer sites and stuff
Yes.
like that. That they can't. That the in fact, there was a feminist on Medium complaining about that. Okay, you think you have influence over this boy, but the thing is, you put him online and have him play games in the gaming sites. This information is still filtering through.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Even amongst those who are unaware. I mean, I got a video of a brother in court, family court.
Mm-hmm.
He's, street brother, everyday cat. And
Mm-hmm.
he's saying, I kind of think there should be a reason. He doesn't have the language, but he's saying
Mm-hmm.
there should be a mandatory DNA test,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
he's in court on child support and he's trying to come up with, you can tell he can't articulate it.
Yeah.
And he's not even connected into this network of men. And he's
Mm-mm.
asking those questions.
Yeah, because the thing is the virus will bubble out. The viral meme will bubble out from its center and start infecting, and nobody will actually know exactly where it came from. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
only the good people know where patient zero is.
Mm. Yeah.
Because after it spreads, patient zero gets lost.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff is bubbling out from the black manosphere, but things by the time it iterates, okay, nobody know where it came from. But the thing is, at some point, it doesn't matter,
Mm. Yeah.
because it's a virus. It's supposed to spread. The tired baby's supposed to spread.
Yeah. But the benefit is once they come into spaces like these, there's already an archive with hundreds of videos
Yes. Yeah.
outlining this stuff for posterity. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole thing. And like I said, I don't know if you were listening, but I gave you your kudos. Um, was it? I think it was. I think when I was doing Tommy's video, I was giving your kudos about the sacrifice that you made for us. So, and people should always, hold your name in high esteem in this space, right along with Kevin's.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't have a CV. I don't have stuff to risk, man. That took a lot of courage. He said, you know, I wouldn't underestimate that. How it is in the academy, man, and it probably did make you a target at some point. So,
mm.
so the risk that you took, man, that cannot be measured because nobody else did before you. Nobody else came forward before you. So,
Damn.
I mean, you notice it. Then after that, you can see even in the white manosphere they started coming forward. So you were the first.
What they say? I'm not crying. You crying right now. Talking to me, I ain't crying.
So what I just want to like I said, we didn't always give Kevin his flowers, man. I want to make sure that you get yours because like I said, when I remember when I told you, man, I told you you're going to be the first. You won't be the last, but you're going to be the first, and that's why it's so important. Because the black manosphere and the manosphere would have never went into politics if it wasn't for you planting your flag and planting your CV and putting your face out there and say, hey, I'm a professor, blah blah blah. This is my PhD, blah blah blah, and I'm here. Even though you're adjacent, you're not part of the manosphere. For people listening, he's adjacent. Okay, we keep him that way. Okay.
Well, if y'all are not, if anybody's not familiar, check the Black Male Political Agenda. You can Google it. We just added a 19th point.
What's the 19th point?
Reparations for GI Bill for black men from World War II to Vietnam, all the way up through Reagan. Really, I think it's up through Reagan, but reparations for those black men who served and didn't get the GI Bill.
Okay.
So check it out.
Okay. Yeah. You probably should have that. Have the 19th Amendment always the 19th article on Memorial Day because that was Memorial Day was initially made for to recognize the black soldiers that weren't recognized and give them their medals.
I didn't plan that, but I want to say my last show was around then when I announced it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, But we have to be the ones to kind of push this, and so
that's why look at Dr. T still gets a mandatory pension.
He's there, pension. Okay.
Yeah, but that is true because A lot. Well, hell, when they start you start seeing black men and families progress when they actually, thanks to Moynihan and Clark, that actually push the idea that black men should be included and should get their benefits from the military and should be
Yeah.
a part of it. Okay, and when black men start getting their GI bills and their loans, VA loans, and all that kind of stuff, we can see the family start to progress because a lot of your homes are actually bought off. Initial homes are actually bought off the GI Bill.
Well, yeah, and with that, you see the creation of the middle class.
The creation of the middle class, the black middle class, exactly. Yep.
So it's interesting we were left out of that ascension.
Yes.
Um, and it'll never be the same. I mean, even if there were reparations, it's not the same as actually having benefited at that time.
Yes.
I used to tell my students, a lot of you sitting here at Fresno State, if your grandpa or great grandfather had gotten the GI Bill, you might be at a whole different level of university right now, inheriting a business that's been passed down.
Yes. Yep.
You're sitting here at Fresno State as a first generation college student trying to figure out your major.
Yeah. Yep, and then and then you talk about how your women screwed you because you should have got all that and more, but that is what it is. Okay,
man.
Oh man, they should have never let me discover Polly Murray.
The treachery is so deep, man.
It is deep.
I have trouble managing it, man. I still do. I mean, I sometimes writing, I still punch walls. This shit is so treacherous.
It is treacherous, and the thing is, it's one thing, it's one thing. It's one thing if they've told the truth. Okay, we made a decision based on blah blah blah, but to lie about it for 60 years. Okay.
Well, the cold part is I'm hearing women now doing videos outlining the stuff you and I have been talking about for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Like it's something they all knew.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about this in my next show, and some people have already played the clip. But there's one woman talking about how black women traded in the black community for her advancement, and she's talking about it like she's ordering something at McDonald's. Like it's just casual.
We did. Yeah, Negro, we did it. So what?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, in her end analysis, she was like, "Well, black women, you just gonna have to get back with black men." I'm like, who told you we wanted to?
It's because what? Is it today? The party's over, right?
The party's over.
When, because I knew what Trump was doing when he went all the way back. Okay, canceled all the
loan forgiveness.
No, the presidential signings of the what do they call them? Executive orders, all going all the way back to 65 concerning affirmative action, right? He stripped all that away, okay? Because they included women, okay? He stripped all that away, so he went back to the original law, which is equality, right? Okay. We forget all the affirmative action because yada yada yada. Okay, we're going to go back to the original bill where it's equality. In other words, the best qualified applicant is going to get the job.
So you're talking about he just initiated a reality that very few women who are active and participatory in society were alive before. I mean, they've not known that era.
They've never known that era. Yeah, the only people that know it are basically the old silent generation. Okay.
Right.
They're the only one who knew because by the time boomers came up, okay, we got grandfathered into this.
Yeah. But the thing I noticed is that other groups, after Kamala didn't get elected, other groups of feminists, other groups of women went back home to their men.
Yes.
They knew that whatever's coming down the pike, they couldn't manage it alone. They threw a tantrum for a day or two, but they went back to their men. Guess who burned the bridge for that, as far as the black community is concerned? They don't even know how to go back to their men.
I might do a video on this about they saying the Obama era is over. And, I'm going to say Obama era is over thanks to Michelle. Because she is tearing down his old legacy brick by brick.
Oh my God, it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if she's consciously doing it or she's just doing it, because that's the way she feels. I don't know, But
Well,
the
it
thing
seems
is,
like she's been feeling like that, and it's taken her mother and her brother to just hold her in check enough
yeah,
for them to get through 2 terms
yeah,
without her flipping out.
flipping out, yeah.
But she's still throwing tantrums about being the first lady. And even white women are looking at her like, you realize what you were? Like, you over here complaining you were the first goddamn lady. Like, what? It makes no sense, man.
It doesn't. It does not.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did you want to continue with this one, or what you want to?
Yeah, let's play a little bit more of it, and then we'll close out, and I'll let you go. What I'm saying is this like I said, this is Tuesday for you. Can you have the link real quick? Sure, Mr. Z. Yeah, you did 4 hours on this. I don't know why you want 9 hours on this. I don't know why you want more.
9, damn.
Yeah, you did 9 hours on this.
For Black men. And what makes it even more what makes it even more fucked up is that there are Black women, Black cis, presumably heterosexual women, who assume that this is their position. And there are so many of us who have taken up the position of martyr, sacrifice, property, protector. Because
How you be martyr, sacrifice, property, and protector?
This is fantastical.
Yeah.
We've been taught in different spaces that is our position. And then so many of us grow up and still claim that position. And we might call ourselves pygmies. We might call ourselves...
Here we go. We call ourselves pygmies, okay?
Yeah, this is a
men-centered women. However you want to frame it, right? But these are women who see it as their duty to sacrifice themselves for Black men.
In other words, fools, okay?
Yeah, this is textbook Black lesbian feminism circa 1982.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The color purple.
Yeah, so the subtle digs at heterosexual women, the women who actually want to deal with men and engage men. This is a subtle dig against them.
BLM playbook, yeah.
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 What's going on, Dr. T? What's going on, BGS?
Hey.
What's
up? I wanted to real quick about the Michelle Obama thing. I think she represents the feeling of Black women right now. I think you're watching her level of crash out. No. I'm saying that no. There's something I'm going with this, BGS. I'm saying that because of the loss of Kamala and the fact that she didn't show up to the events that a first lady would show up to. I think it's her level of crash out, and I think she represents Black women realizing, oh crap, y'all really ain't gonna let us sit at the adult table. Like I didn't know if y'all were serious. No, y'all really not gonna let us sit. So I think Michelle represents how Black women are feeling right now towards America, Black men, and the tearing down brick by brick. I think that's just perfect. I think it's just chef's kiss of how they're feeling, and she's acting that out in front of us live.
Oh yeah. The thing is, I'm sure Dr. T can tell you, we always thought that about Michelle Obama. She just was restrained.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when she did, we weren't surprised. Okay.
He almost couldn't run until he got her brother to talk her down.
Yeah. And my mother and her brother and her mother.
Talk
her down.
Yeah.
I think I owe Papa Z an apology because he called this back in like 07, 08, and I told him no.
I told him about what? About Michelle Obama?
Yep, he called in 07, 08.
Oh yeah, because you were too young, man. You didn't know. I said, you two men have saved my life. I now understand the BS the Black culture has been going through. I have been showing my sons all your work. Someone cares about Black men. Yeah.
Wow.
We're just trying to let you guys know what the reality is, okay? And and don't let them gaslight you, because that's what you're doing right now.
And that you're not crazy.
Yeah, because but the thing is, like she's going through the whole playbook.
Yeah.
Like Dr. T says, she's going through the whole play, but she's not skilled enough to actually wield it properly. That's the problem. Not yet.
But it's questionable if she'll ever be able to do what other women have been able to do when the environment suited what they were doing. Yeah. So she's an out of step, kind of soldier in a war that's changed dramatically. And I'm just curious to see how far this goes in this new era.
So Doc T, that's real quick, BJ. That's what I wanted to say. I'll put that in the comments. Exactly what Dr. T just said is, I think this might be the first time Black women are not on the cutting edge. they're not in vogue. Like the wind is facing the other way, and they running straight towards it. Like, and this is gonna hurt.
There's no money. Okay, if you know, because I was looking at a couple things, right? Because I was actually looking at interracial marriage, right? Because black men have always been more interracially married than black women. Okay, but they were fairly close, right? And you could see you could see the separation as soon as they started giving black women benefits, same benefits as white women. You could see the separation, even in interracial marriage. All out of wedlock births, divorces, decline in marriage, all that stuff happened all right around the same time. Right around the same time. All this stuff, the divergence happened right around the same time.
So the question,
go ahead.
The question then becomes to you and Doc T.
Mm-hmm.
Are black women gonna be that one Japanese soldier that's still fighting World War II?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so?
No, they're already they're gonna be that $3 chick on the corner. Okay, that's what they're gonna be.
Oh,
that's where they're headed. Because
not in quarters.
They were never. They're not raised. Okay, the black manosphere BGS actually saved my life during the COVID. I discovered them in the space. It kept me from doing something drastic. I always hold you men in the highest esteem. Appreciate you.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. The reason I was suggesting that they would be is they've only known one tactic. And despite how they've tried to obfuscate it, the tactic has always been to tap into resources that we don't get as black men. That's the only tactic they have. So would it be surprising to see them continue to use the only gesture they know? No.
What happens when the tap is dry?
And that's the point. It's dry and it's pathetic because it's dry and it won't work. But they don't. That's the only one they know.
In fact, Corey Holcomb was saying something very similar about that. What they're going to have to do, because when the tap is dry, okay, they're going to have to. You know, the only thing you have to rely on what women have always relied on, their bodies.
But I'm glad you brought up Corey Holcomb. It moved me to actually see one of his more recent, kind of videos.
Shorts,
where I heard him talking about stuff that came out of this space.
Yes.
And that to me is it's evidence we have exceeded escape velocity. It's out there. When comedians are giving historical breakdowns with accuracy, I mean, it's out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, when Kevin broke through, we had basically got the escape velocity and gone and left. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we like a cop, we carry other pieces of it with us. When you have now you have a Chinese man calling himself MGTOW, okay, and demanding paternity testing at birth.
Yeah.
You know, even before we can even get it here, they're already demanding it. Okay, as a country.
Yeah, we're seeing divorce politics changing in China. And the question is, how long does it take to get here? And that all depends on when you actually want to improve the birth rate. If it's possible, you'd have to actually begin to change policy the way men have been saying they need to change.
Yeah, well, basically, we know, man, this United States and the West are de facto gynocracies. Okay, state-run gynocracies. They're not run by individual women, but state-run gynocracies.
Yeah, in the interest of women.
In the interest of women, yeah. Which is women don't run anything, blah blah. But a matriarchy doesn't have to have. Very few matriarchies have women in leadership positions. Most of them are men, actually voted in by the women.
But the danger is that what Trump symbolizes is that the dollar is due. The math has finally hit the limit. It can't be stretched any further, and they are making cuts.
Yes.
So the reality of single women that live longer than men and use up resources in the system, that's no longer feasible as a macro kind of social plan. It doesn't work. It's too expensive. So the cuts are going to get deeper. And at some point, they're going to have to actually engage men's interests if they want men's participation.
Good evening, fellas. Good evening.
Yeah, we're going to go about 20 more minutes because you guys came up. And really, I allowed Mr. Z up here is because he actually did a video on this, okay? And so this is not a regular hangout.
I'm just looking at this as More educated, unattractive women complaining again.
No, okay. The thing is, that's true, but thing is, it's something deeper than that, okay? And that's why I'm playing her, is because, as Dr. T saying, this is a mindset that penetrates not only through the academy, but also through politics.
Oh yeah, we could see it already, but like I said before, what happens? What happens when men start getting audacity, man? And so guess what?
Okay, the thing is, it doesn't matter about audacity, okay? The thing is, the environment dictates even what men do. Okay, there is no more money, or there is no more leeway to allow this kind of failed policy to go on. That's why deconstructing. Okay, we've had audacity. That doesn't mean anything until the
That's,
environment's right for it.
that's the crazy part because now they're wondering, look how everything's falling together. They're wondering why men don't approach. They're wondering, where's my jobs after
They,
2 months?
they know why men don't approach. Okay, that's a lie. They know why men don't
I
approach.
know, I know. Just give me a little bit of a freeze. I'm
Okay.
just using their words, and they say they wonder why. But here's the crazy part: you
Mm-hmm.
ask for this, you just can't see the far down the line of what's your results. It's like Thanos said: "You've done all this, and what did it bring you?"
Yeah. The thing is that, and everybody has to go through the shock. It's not just
Yeah.
them. It's everybody has to go through this shot because the nexus has already happened. It's already the event arises already happened. It's already passed us by, and basically, what Trump is. Hopefully he's trying to do. But you never can tell about the Joker. When you put the Joker in office, you can never tell what he's actually going to do. Okay, even the Joker doesn't know. Okay, but what he's trying to do is retroactively fix or slow down what's going on already.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is my question to you, BGS.
Yes, sir.
I think a lot of these women are hoping that in the next election they can not only get a Democrat back in office, but one who will reinstate the resources that they were used to getting.
Okay.
I think a lot of them are hoping, and I don't think it's a serious breakdown, politically. I don't think anyone's articulating this, but emotionally, I think a lot of women,
They do.
especially,
They are
hoping
yes.
that this can all be wiped away with
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
president. What
Yeah,
are your thoughts on that?
they basically they want to click their heels 3 times and say there's no place like home, right?
Exactly.
They're hoping that they can find the ruby slippers and be
Mm-hmm.
transported and have all the power to actually make things back the way it was, prior
Mm-hmm.
to. Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing they're finding is a house landing on their asses.
Yeah, well, basically lost in Oz or dumped back in the prairie where she was. Okay, find okay, this is not what I actually anticipated.
But what my
Okay.
question was to you though is, what is the feasibility of that? Like, even if there is a Democrat in office, what's the reality that changes?
it's impossible. It's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's impossible to do it. Okay, there's no
Mm-hmm.
way you can do it. The thing is, either you do it internally or it's going to happen externally. Okay, because you can't control what the other 180 countries are doing with your dollar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the thing is, at some point, even the Democrats have to recognize have to recognize that the debt is too high. Okay, that you can't borrow anymore. Um, and they're gonna have to rectify it as they bring in more migrants to work as workers to actually start paying into the system or something which Biden underhandedly tried to do. Okay, he screwed it up, but that's what he was trying to do underhandedly. They were trying to fix the budget problem. The thing
Is
is,
this one of those?
go ahead.
Is this one of the cases of the folly of being a king without a kingdom, damn near?
Yeah, I don't understand the reference.
In other words, if because of you, like you said, there's no more money. The credit card's been cut, and it's pretty much if they try to go back, which is impossible. Which I agree with you. Are they trying to implode this damn thing or what?
And they're well, basically, there's one guy called in and he talked about this, right? And I said, you want to hit the brick wall at 30 and survive, or you want to hit it 100 miles an hour and die? He said he'd rather hit it at 100.
Wow.
And some people would rather hit it at 100 and just deal with the aftermath. Okay, they'd rather have
He,
it implode yeah, and keep the fantasy alive as long as possible. It's almost like
Would that
WandaVision.
be would that be along the lines of maybe accelerationists? Would you slot them in that lane?
I don't think they would even call themselves that. I think they're delusionists. That's what I think they are. Keep the delusion
We'll go with
going.
it.
Keep as long as I can. In other words, Adrian can be married. For tomorrow I shall die, like a nihilist would. Okay, maybe America is nihilistic. Okay, I don't care what happens in the future. I only care about the now.
Well, especially if you're dealing with a group that's classified the 60s, actually the 50s through the 70s as slavery in the black household.
Yes.
Which makes no sense historically. But if this is how they framed it for their daughters, Gen X and younger,
yes,
then it makes sense that they wouldn't have a realistic idea of what society or what the black community could look like outside of these policies. So I can see why they would want to die.
Yeah,
crash the system.
Women will spend. They can lose their job, but they'll spend all their money on Christmas.
See that?
Because I want one last good Christmas. Okay, I know I'm gonna be homeless come February, but the thing is, in the meantime, I want to have happy memories.
Right.
Doc, it's funny you say that because I keep saying Color Purple wasn't a movie to y'all. It was a goddamn documentary. That's number one. Number two, going to what BGS just said, the young sister that her boss is letting her sleep in the office. And she was like, "Why y'all paying rent? I'm over here eating crab legs." So that go to what you're saying right there. She's literally homeless. She was staying in her car until her boss allowed her. And then the fact that she's exposing her boss, she could really get him and her messed up about that. But she say, "Oh, y'all over here working and barely can afford y'all apartment, and I'm over here eating crab legs." So you're right about what you're saying.
And using it as a flex.
Right. Basically sitting on feces being flushed down the toilet. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I wish I could say ignorance is bliss, but they're not being ignorant.
No, they've been delusional. Delusion is bliss too.
Yeah.
And so they're hoping that they can keep the debt limit going and keep the party going until it crashes. Okay, and then after it crashes, guess what? Okay.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
And that's when it happens.
I think there's still this fantastical belief that there will be another safety net of some sort. Because, again, this is all they've known is safety net after safety net.
Yes.
They don't even process it as safety net. But for black men who've never had a safety net, we see it for what it is.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, they have not touched the ground until now.
No, because the net has always been there. Now they see the bodies falling. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the bodies are falling. Okay.
And
Doc,
hitting the ground. Bodies are falling, hitting the ground now. And now it said, "Oh, I hope they fix that net before I fall."
Yeah, exactly.
Doc, I was a little preoccupied when you were speaking earlier, but I think I heard you saying that you just reiterated again, and that's frightening to me to not consider that you're not in that lane anymore. The times are changing and they're changing fast, right? It's frightening to me to think you think as a black person, that's the scariest part because you still black, that you have like there's another cloud you could jump on.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, literally, we're gonna wrap this up in a minute. If the gist from this whole video is especially toward the end about letting black men suffer their own consequences. What she's saying is we're willing white men to throw the black man under the bus, and you can do what you will with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're not gonna. If you save us and let us go or let us be, okay, we'll sacrifice our own men for you. That's what she's saying.
She's reapplying an application for a job that's just been eliminated.
Yeah, because the white women don't have that job anymore.
No, and black women went out and got flushed at the same time. But the thing with black women is they've had the benefit over the last number of decades to where one foot was in the black community, the other was in this feminist camp with white women, and they could hop from one to the other whenever one was more convenient. But now they're seeing the elimination of the feminist camp. And we've seen, and they burned the bridge with many black men, especially politically and socially. So this is an unprecedented moment that many of us are just watching the fire just to see how bad this gets.
Yeah.
How can you not be paying attention to geopolitics so much you don't appreciate America? Got to play catch up. Got to stave off and so it's streamlining, and this is why you're shedding a lot of the loose money. Like that's
She has a full belly. Her
Yeah.
belly is full.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feet kicked up, belly full. You know, she's comfortable. She's been telling us for years, I don't have to deal with you niggas. She's comfortable.
Yes.
And so as there's changes happening around her, she's not processing them because she's never had to.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not real to her.
It's not real. If we go back to the 50s, you know, you could see the beginning of it. But think about how many generations that's been.
Yeah.
Great grandmother, the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, the granddaughter, the great daughter. You know, this is how it's been passed down with women as heads of household.
You got a pharaoh that doesn't know Joseph right now.
There you go.
Yeah, I've never been in slavery. Okay.
They've not seen this.
They've seen it. Yeah.
And they've never had to cooperate with men because they had the state. None of this is real to them. And so even when I hear black women making apology videos, and I'm seeing a lot of those since Trump's election, it's individual, but it's not been in the collective of women yet. They haven't really registered what has been happening politically. I mean, they're just now tripping off of April and the loss of 106,000 jobs. They're just now tripping off it, but they don't see the wider framework.
And they only telling half the story. They don't tell about what happened since January.
No,
300,000. Okay,
300,000 since January, and I try to tell brothers, if you look at that chart, we were at 6.9 in January.
Yeah.
So don't get comfortable, you know, laughing at other groups. But the difference is we don't expect a safety net.
No.
When black men lose their jobs, it ain't a surprise. When you know, it's just part of reality for us.
Yeah. But the thing is that now you know with the competition, external competition, every boy, every man is valuable now. Okay. Because you got to build your way out of this. You can't shuffle paperwork anymore.
Yeah.
So every boy, every man is valuable. So they have to go back. They have to go back to basics, and they have to push women aside. Okay. Either you become a man like you said you always wanted to be, or you're gonna get pushed aside. Yeah. Including white women.
Yeah, and that's not something we've ever seen either.
No.
On a wide scale, white women having to, you know, actually pony up and compete.
Yeah, with white women have the decency enough to shut up about it.
Yeah, you know, we can see why black women want to stay in delusion. It's way more comfortable than reality. But you know, there's a point when reality takes all of that shit away.
Yeah, we're at that point. Okay, we're actually beyond that point. Okay, the winter hasn't gone full force yet, but the temperatures dropped and there's snow on the ground.
I'm watching videos, BGS, where women are they're evicted. Their stuff is out on the ground outside the building. They're making TikTok videos talking about GoFundMe, and they have to figure out their next move. And they're talking as if that's going to save them.
Remember that movie that Kiki Palmer did with SZA?
The new one that just came out a little while.
The one that just came out where they got evicted or getting ready to get evicted, and we came home and their stuff was out there on the front lawn. Okay, and they had to figure out a bailout. Very apropos to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally have to go sell themselves to get enough rent to actually stay afloat.
You know, I'm going to say this before, good doctor, always a pleasure.
Likewise, good brother.
I'm just going to say this. I don't take glee, but I'm not saying I'm not smiling though. I will say this. Be careful what you ask for, ladies. You wanted your independence. Hold your own ovaries.
They have no choice now.
Yeah.
Because now, think about it. You know how many women now I've heard from in days of futures past?
Yeah.
Hey, Charles, are you married? No.
Yep.
Hey, Charles, you still got your GI Bill, don't you? Yep.
I'm sure Doc's phone is probably ringing off the hook right now.
I'm going to tell you, and I've seen coffee girls come up to my car when I'm parking, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. We talked about this before, and it's sad because you could have prevented all this, or you could have if you stayed with your man when you were in HR and you stayed with your man when you were getting these benefits and said, hey, we're going to take these or we're going to do this to help you get your education or your business, you would have been on top. You literally would have been the number one women on top. But like you said, there comes a time when they know not Joseph, and there's a time when they don't know the barbarity of the Pharaoh.
Yeah,
So
because they never wanted us in the first place, and that's the hard truth to get black men to understand. They never really wanted you in the first place.
you know what you need to clip? You need to. I need to clip that Thanos. You did all this, and what did it bring you?
Yeah, back to me. Yeah.
Right back to me. No matter where you go, you can't survive without me. Black men can go literally anywhere on this planet right now and live comfortable. That's why I take pride on being on the bottom.
Yeah.
Because where else do we got to go?
Well, the thing is, and this is something I forget who was telling me this, right? He does. They're in construction, right? And there's projects that need to be built, and with what's going on right now with the flights and stuff like that, you have brothers, man, that are working 6 months out of the year, not working a full 12 because they said, in other words,
Compassionate was the one that told you.
yeah, because they don't want a family, they don't want a wife, they don't want a house, they want to work 6 months out of the year and live out of the country the other six. So in other words, if I grind, I work 6 months out of the year, I can go to a foreign country, okay, and live in a damn near penthouse, okay, overlooking the city.
I mean, BGS is basically looking at pragmatism versus delusion.
Well, men are always pragmatic, okay, and men. The thing is, you didn't give the men enough for the brainwashing to keep, okay. So you've talked about them enough, and you've downgraded them enough to the point where you say, you know what, let's look for alternatives, and men will always find alternatives, okay.
KMS said that there's too much pain in the system.
Yeah, but there's too much pain in the system. Well, the system doesn't work, okay? And men, the system is not functioning enough for them. So they're going to they're going to get on boats and find other opportunities. As Alan Roger Curry called the beta male revolution, right? It's here.
Yeah.
And active.
I have women from 1992 calling me.
Yes. Yep.
It's gotten there.
Operation Reach Back is in effect, okay?
In effect.
Oh, Alexa, please play Float On.
Okay. Anyway, y'all, closing thoughts. We get like an hour and 45 minutes in, and we're gonna let. Are you out for the semester, Dr. T?
Yeah, I just finished grading not too long ago. I do have a summer course I'm teaching, but it's at this point they have me teaching asynchronously, so I'm not even holding lectures or class times. It's just work online that students got to do.
Okay.
So, as far as the world is concerned, I'm sitting at home, but I take nothing for granted, man. I have no idea how Trump's work and those working with him might impact anybody. So I take it a day at a time.
Even Trump doesn't know how it's going to impact anybody.
Yeah. So nobody's super comfortable. The only difference with black men is we have no expectations that someone's coming to save us.
No. SYSBM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate you having me up. I'll let you go.
No, I appreciate you, man, because like I said, for me, this is Friday. For you, this is Tuesday, because you hear people like her all the time.
And people have been asking me to review it. I just, God damn it. It's hard for me to do voluntarily because I have to do this, and it's predictable. It's pathetic. Oh my God.
It's like listening to one of your students, I'm sure.
It very much is. It very much is. And the arrogance level is high on top of everything else. It would be one thing if you were humble.
Yeah.
Talking like this, we might be able to work with you. But if you're coming through with arrogance on top of everything, it's just exhausting.
She got her PhD. She's on top of the world, man.
Man. Well,
Doc, what got me is when she invoked the ancestors. I damn near lost it.
Let me play that real quick for Dr. T. And
I'm going to say this before you play it. It's a good one, fellas. Woo. And last but not least, if she's a PhD, she need to kick her professor's asses and get a refund.
That's what they give. That's what they give her. I mean, she went to highly esteemed universities, Duke and I think it was Columbia.
Yeah,
she needs a refund.
This is what they turn out, man. It's
Yeah.
exactly what the system wants to turn out. Let me play this real quick for Dr. T. You'll love this.
Or beliefs that you do not hold, then this video and this knowledge, quite literally, will not resonate with you. If you are here, you probably know me from my podcast, Black Love Free, and you know me as an Afro-Carolinian queer Black feminist scholar and storyteller. I'm going to share a little bit of my presentation that I promised you all that talks about Black women being collateral to Black men's pursuits of success. And so I'll talk a little bit about some research that I did for my dissertation to help us think about what is actually going on when we see people, particularly Black men and women, argue that violence against Black women and girls is necessary for Black, cis, presumably heterosexual men to be successful. I'll offer some remedies for those of us who continually find ourselves.
She did.
Yeah, that's a straw man argument. They like to do this kind of mess. They accuse Black men of making arguments, and then they refute the argument. And who the fuck said that? Who said violence was necessary?
They said that. They say it all the time.
Come on, you got to get down to her definition of violence, and it's usually questionable. He hurt my feelings.
He hurt my feelings. Yes.
Being sacrificed or disposed of by our communities, by those who are closest to us. And also, please excuse my sniffles. I am quite literally trying to recover from
We'll let you guys up, man. We're literally in closing thoughts, okay? You know, I'll let you guys up, and you guys, if I let you guys up, you guys got a minute, okay? I'm just playing this for Doc.
A room too soon after it was fumigated from mosquitoes in Senegal. So if you hear me sounding all sniffly, I promise you I'm not sick. I just sniffed too many chemicals. But okay, let's get started. Let me move my tea. This presentation, this talk today mentions sexual violence and intimate.
Okay, maybe let's go back for
It's time for us to let Black men face the
No,
consequences.
she invokes the ancestors towards the end.
My name is Dr. Rebranding. Okay. I am in Gemini, a reluctant anthropologist, an energy healer, and a scholar and a storyteller. I am a Black queer feminist. I'm an abolitionist as well as an anarchist. So if you already know that these are thought forms or beliefs that you do not hold, then this video and this knowledge, quite literally, will not resonate with you.
And like I said, that's Tuesday for Doc, okay? That's Tuesday for Doc.
She's a queer feminist, anarchist, everything.
Energy healer, storyteller.
Oh, she plays with tarot cards also. I checked out her Instagram. She into the tarot cards also.
Of course she does. Okay.
Yeah, gave her an astrology sign, which nobody does in the academy.
Yes.
Right. So
yes. She's on the far end. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why she teaches at high school and not at the university.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said she was teaching it, or you said she went to school at Duke.
So, she went to school at Duke and got her PhD at Columbia. But when I read her CV, she was teaching in high school. Yeah.
Wow.
Science in high school. That's what I read.
Well, I think that was part of the question I asked you. You know, in terms of how we're going to see this impact that group of women. It already has.
Yes.
10 years ago, she would be teaching at Duke.
Yeah.
She's teaching high school?
That's what I read in her CV. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's already hit. What is that? Hashtag BGS was right.
Yeah, it's already hit. You got a minute, Chaos?
Yes, I doing BGS. Mrs. E, you the first one to play this. Where you found this lady? My question I'd ask you. So.
They sent it to us. They was spamming all of us with this.
They sent it to us. They found her on Twitter, and they sent it to us.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Well, I checked at this lady's page, and this one even got to a couple thousand, and our videos beside this one got roughly a 1,000 or more.
She's new to YouTube, so she doesn't have that much on YouTube. Most of her stuff is on Instagram and Twitter.
I question how many publications she has, but it seems to me she's trying to get a job.
Yeah. I don't think I think she published one paper or so. Yeah. I don't think she's published very much.
These type of feminists generally don't publish much, but
yeah. She's a baby PhD. So.
But Doc, that goes back to what you just said.
One time. Hold on.
Doc, that goes back to what you said. She's applying for a job that no longer exists. If this is the type of work and the type of avenue that she thinks, because this is old hat. but once again, I wouldn't even say a decade, Dr. T. I would say 5 years ago she would have been okay, but not anymore.
Well, just keep in mind, these were the kind of women that other black women were hiring over Tommy Curry.
Yes.
That's so for they were brought in as standard fare for a long time.
Yeah. That day seems to be over. Go ahead, Ed, real quick.
Yeah, I just want to make it very clear. I don't speak for nobody but myself when I say this, and I'm not about to say nothing crazy, but I just want to say that. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Dr. T, as always. Obviously, Chaos, obviously, Mr. Z. I'm not the social worker. I'm John Wick. Yeah. Real talk. I see people like this, and that part of academia very simply. When Nazi Germany took over France, they had to have a basically intermediate government. And what happened to those intermediate governments when they were gone? They got their heads shaven, they got ostracized. That's how I see black academia. That's how I see the guy Nazis. It is pretty much it is a part of white supremacy. And that's what always trips me out about women like this is they actually believe they're the good guys. They actually believe that. They actually believe some of this stuff that they're saying. And I say that to say this. Most black men won't take the position that I'm going to take, but it is my position that if you're going to have a black community that's going to be successful, these people can't come. I don't believe in negotiation. There is either I'm here or you're here. We both can't be here.
Well, the thing is, the money, there's no more money for that, okay? And any man that wants to take on a woman is going to have to take on a burden. And the thing is, that's not going to play very well because, like I said, that the fact there's 4 billion women on the planet is actually going to play very large in the coming years.
Yeah, and to speak to what you just said is, and I was thinking about this too, and you just confirmed it. There is a difference between dealing with the quote unquote subsidized black woman and with you're dealing with her attitude and all of that, and then you actually buying the car. It's the difference between you being gifted a car that has problems versus you actually buying and paying after for a car that pretty much does not run in any real way like you need to. Yeah. And I think so. I do agree with what you're saying, but for the dudes that think they're protecting the black women is protecting black daughters and all of that. At the end of the day, I want to make it very clear: this is not a there's no reconciliation. If dudes try to take these women on, as far as I'm concerned, you need to go just like
they're not taking them on, and that's the point. Okay, I don't care what their rhetoric is. Okay, I don't know what their mouths are saying. They're not taking these women on. They're not.
Yeah.
They can't afford to. The environment is not going to let you take these women on. These kind of women are not going to be accepted inside the tent because you can't afford to. You got to put the mask on yourself first.
So what do you think?
Go ahead and finish up real quick, Ed. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to end with a question. I'm curious what the Dr. T sees and what all y'all think about this. What do you see in 2025, 2030? What do you think this looks like as far as black women's position?
The $3 coffee girl is what you're going to see going forward. Okay. Literally, and she'll be no different. Now, if she doesn't find a job, okay, even though she's got a PhD, she'll be a coffee girl just like everybody else.
So you don't see these women going in like a cocoon and trying to
there is no cocoon. There ain't no money, man. You can't protect them. Well, just like during the crack era, man, when the whole community started to fall, there is no net to catch you. Okay.
Do you foresee like the greater society making black women an example to try to get white women in line?
No, they're not trying to make an example. This is going to be a reality. The white women have to come. You're going to see white $3 coffee girls on the street. Okay, I showed you pictures of white women in New York doing the same shit, man, like a couple years ago. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Trump's actions impacted white women far more.
Like Medicare.
No, they're not Medicare. No, the DEI. Okay, that's why that's how come we show you guys this shit. Okay,
they benefited the most from DEI, so it's gonna hurt them the most.
It's gonna. As soon as he did it, it started affecting their jobs. Okay, now Keisha's gonna get hit first because they're gonna try to save the white women. Okay,
but that's that 106.
So in other words, when white women get pushed down, okay, Keisha gets pushed out, okay, but then eventually white women are actually going to start getting pushed out, and all the safety nets that would actually, all those safety nets are actually designed for white women. They weren't designed for black women, okay.
Right. But that's what white women promised black women they could benefit from.
Yeah.
And that's what black women signed up for.
Yes.
Now that it's hurting white women, there's no question it's going to hurt black women.
Yes.
Yeah, because remember
they
they
threw their
said
lot in with
first.
Because you have white women complaining about Section 8 and food stamps, okay?
And you know, funny, BJS and TSN, you remember Amos once said best. First thing they're gonna do is they're not looking to save us. They're gonna save their children first, and that's the only focus. That's what Trump is there. I'll save my people, fuck it first. You niggas, I'm not focused on that.
Trump right now, and this is something people may or may not believe, okay? Because, like I said, I've been looking, Doc can tell you, I've been looking at geopolitics for a very long time, okay? Trump is the captain of the ship. He's trying to save the whole ship, okay? If a couple people fall overboard, so be it. That's the way he looks at it. If you have to throw a couple people overboard to keep the whole ship afloat, that's what he'll do. And Trump is not Batman. He's the Joker, okay?
You know, I don't think a lot of people. I think his name was Perkins. No, that's the economic hitman guy. No, the other one that wrote the book, BS Jobs. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of us appreciated how many of us were doing those type of jobs, right? And especially when you're speaking of the XX chromosome side of the game, and how this is going to affect them when you streamline everything, when you automate as much as you can, when you bring in the software systems to once again revolutionize the workplace as much as you can. That's going to affect all of us, but particularly them. And that's
Doc, go back and look at the videos that Corey Clark, Cory Clark, the feminist I played, talks about how females took over the academy and changed the way things are done. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Go back and I think you'd find it well worth your time to actually go back and look at her.
No, I watched it, and I've been watching for the last 7 months other white women academics talking about the shift. Now, some are supportive of it and are trying to rationalize it, and some are vehemently against it.
Yes, yeah,
vehement, and I think people would be surprised how many white women hate it, because especially the empiricists, they actually like structure, they like outcomes, they like predictability.
Yes,
they do not like this touchy-feely shit that women are doing.
Because it's rotting your whole society. Okay, basically, China just introduced a bullet train that goes 620. It goes faster than an airplane. Okay, we don't have one high-speed train, not one.
Nope.
Yeah.
To what Dr. T was saying, I'm watching some of the scholars play more and more with, okay, you know what? Okay, postmodernism, it's done. And I'm not talking about conservatives either. We're moving to metamodernism. There you go, Z, which is some type of, I know, BGS.
What the hell is metamodernism? God.
Metamodernism is something.
Translate for me, Doc.
This is new to me.
I don't reckon, like, it gets to a point, like, just like with this stuff, there's certain words that once you hear it, I don't recognize your PhD or authority. Like, I don't recognize certain language because I'm just not playing that game. So,
well, you might not.
At this point, people are making words up. I'm not saying that's out of official time, but at this point, people do that for. I wanted to say this too. Like, y'all be afraid to share me or share BGS. There's absolutely no reason y'all should be afraid to share Dr. Johnson. He is credentialized. That y'all should be a like is free, but a share is worth like 100 likes. Share.
Okay, the thing is, me and Doc came up with this theory called they take out the trash on Tuesday, right? Okay. In other words, the reason these terms are important, especially if they start going through the academy, right? They become policy within 3 or 4 years. That's why they're important. That's why you have to pay attention to this stuff. That's why. What do they mean by metamodernism? What do they mean by that?
So it's in the between modernism and postmodernism. So it takes the structure of modernism and it takes it kind of lightens the cynicism of postmodernism, and it factors that into the equation where you don't always winner takes all.
This is like neoliberalism. This is neo-modernism. Okay. That's a throwback with modern principles. In other words, let's say neoliberals did.
Yeah, so it's not winner take all modernism, but it's not also you just only focus on the least of us postmodernism and their stories.
And in other words, basically, what they're trying to do is replicate what the Chinese are doing because the Chinese are kicking our ass. Okay, but they haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah, you said, well, they're not going to figure it out because they're trying to do it under a feminist lens. They're trying to get men to do shit without giving men shit.
Donald Trump basically put when Donald Trump stripped all that stuff away, man, he basically put the nail in the coffin for feminism. Okay,
but Donald Trump wouldn't use that term though either.
Okay, all right.
So that's what feminist. Is that not what liberals are doing, or conservatives?
No, it probably a little bit of both. Okay, they're trying to figure a way out of this box. Okay, that's why that like postmodernism is a feminist, neoliberal feminist term. All right, that's dead because it didn't work. They have to shift to something new. The thing is, what is it that you have to define? What is it they're trying to do? They're trying to go back to something else. Okay,
it sounds like what Mr. Z was talking about was a stopgap in an attempt to prevent a major shift to any type of conservatism, but they can't continue with what they've been doing.
Yes.
So it sounds like a stopgap measure that probably won't work.
I'll put the definition in the back.
And so there are, because I was just unfortunately I caught Laura, what's her name, Laura Ingraham and Tommy Lauren, and they were doing the men are lazy, that rhetoric. So it seems to be the conservatives are basically trying to kick men in the ass with the traditional shaming crap and more of that, like the trap, trying to absorb more of that. So it's not just the women saying that. And then obviously, I guess the liberals are trying to, let women know that they're going to have to let some of this stuff go. So it seems like that's like what
they're trying. Okay, there's conservatives and the liberals on both sides know the feminism is this leftist feminist shit has failed. Okay, the thing is, how do you steer the boys back to the middle? Okay,
you're gonna have to incentivize it, but they don't want to do that.
I was literally gonna say, what's the incentive?
They are starting to incentivize it. Okay, the thing is, things like this don't turn on a dime, man. You got to remember, feminism started in 200 years ago. It didn't just start yesterday. Okay, it took 200 years to get to this point. It's not you can't do it within a few years unless you have a whole collapse. It's gonna take a minute. Okay, because you have a lot of people, you got a lot of old guard like this chick that's resistant to it. Okay, how you get, and the boys that have basically given up, like I said, like the men that work 6 months out of the year. Okay, and then bounce to a foreign country to live in a rooftop apartment or something like that. Okay, and live their best life. Okay, how do you stop that? How do you convince? Let me finish. God damn it, for a second. Okay. How do you convince men that have found a different path to come back and sacrifice themselves
and
overproduce again? How do you convince them to do that? How do you convince them to make families and have children and basically lay down their lives for this shit again when you already fucked it up? How do you convince them to do that?
And how do you do it, especially when there's no more money?
Yeah. Okay, basically
$5,000 baby grants.
Basically, that shit don't work because they've tried.
I'm joking with that one. I'm joking with that one.
What I'm saying is now they have to figure out what can they give, because they can't give you the whole story because they don't have it. Okay, what can you give men and white men? It's not just black men; it's all men, right? What can you give men for them to come back to the table?
You'll start with something that's free. It doesn't cost anything. You know what that is?
What?
The truth. This is what we did. This is why we fucked you. This is why we fucked you, because we wanted power and it didn't work. That's the start.
That's the start. But
you're not crazy, and that's the start. Now they won't do that, and I'm not even saying it's got to be as raw as I'm saying.
They're already starting to do it. Okay, why you think you have people out here that have PhDs, have whole conferences on this shit? They're starting to do it now.
Well, what I'm talking about, you're talking about at a policymaker level, at people that can influence policy. But I'm talking about at because eventually you still got to get the people on the ground to actually do it.
People on the ground are gonna follow policy. Okay, they always have.
So why aren't they following the policy now?
Because the policy, because number one, they number one, the policy hasn't even been implemented yet. Number one, because they don't know what to implement. That's first of all, okay. Secondly, they have to find a policy that people actually like, which they haven't found. And the thing is, they have to handle the implosion that's already going on.
All right, so let me. I'm gonna say this in like 20 seconds or less. So I said the truth. I already said the truth already. And to be more specific, I'm talking about the truth on the mainstream level. Not so we're talking about a culture thing, telling the truth of what it is, not just the policymaker behind the scenes. That's the first thing. The second thing is going to be this is going to be an actual example, which is something is going to be you're going to have to inject trust back into the system. For example, you have to change the marriage laws. Paternity fraud is a good easy one because you can trade paternity fraud for child support in the pregnancy. So you're looking like it's more of a trade than a takeaway, a trade off, and then marriage reform. And yeah, you're not going to just have to do it. You're going to have to insert the stuff in the system to say these are the whys that it's being done.
But you live in a fucking liberal country. Shit don't work that way, okay? You don't live in an authoritarian country. China, you can do that shit, okay? Russia, you can do that shit, okay? Germany may be able to do this shit. You can't do that in America.
Well, you have to. No, I get it. You got to inject the marketing first in order to convince people.
In other words, it has to evolve slowly, okay?
You don't have that overnight. You don't have that time.
Well then it will. That's how come they're trying to put in stopgap measures to give you time.
Okay, excuse me. I'm trying to respect BGS's time. I know you got to go. I'm going to step down.
No. Okay, you got a closing thought that you want to?
No, I appreciate the conversation.
No. Basically, I'm glad you came up because the thing is, you're an expert at this because you like I said, she's your student for the most part. Okay. You've heard this 1,000 times. You've seen the theories. You've seen the holes in the theories that don't work, that actually hit the wall and imploded. Okay, and I'm glad. That's why I invited you up because I knew you knew because this is your life. Like you said, that's why you started to listen to her because everything that she said you've heard like 1,000 times.
So I got a question. If we went to war,
hold on. With the war with who?
China. Would we be staying all like it wouldn't be?
No. If we went to war with China, if we went to war with China, you'd be digging a bunker right now.
Well, what I'm saying is it would, yeah, but I still have to go to the bunker. It wouldn't be.
No. You have to dig with the bunker. You have to dig a bunker first. That's like it's probably not going to happen. Okay.
But what I'm saying is, if it came down to that, it's not going to be what we got to do when we got to do it slow. It's going to be it's happening. Regardless of this, I get what you're saying about the liberal democracy stuff has to happen slow. But my thing, I get you have to put the marketing to change the worldview. Insert it. I understand that. You're right. I'm not debating that. My problem is I see them doing that at the level of the back room. That you eventually have to convince the people to come back, and men operate on tangible things. Men don't operate on feelings and emotions. That will get them to pay attention. So the truth will get them to pay attention. But eventually you're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, you're okay. The thing is, okay, you're a marketer, right? You can only work with the environment that you're in, right? You can't force the environment that's not there. Okay? You have a liberal environment, okay? Liberalism, that's how come we don't have bullet trains, okay? You cannot force people, 330 million people to actually do something they don't want to do. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that takes time. And then that's not even talking about you got the oil industry, the car industry, the plane industry. You got all that too. So I just told somebody.
They start slamming on the brakes in 2012, 2013, okay? That's when they started applying the brakes back then, okay? It's still just slowing, okay? And Trump is a slight acceleration of that. I mean, they're tripping out over Doge. Okay, when they know hold on, let me finish. Okay, they're tripping out over Doge, and they know that it has to be done. They know that this budget has to be fixed. Okay, and people are still screaming about it. They're still dragging their feet. It doesn't change overnight.
No, what I'm asking is, what we talking about 10, 15? Because if you say 2013, that's already 12 years. So are we talking about another 10, another 15, another 20? Because I'm saying he got like 3 or 4, not even that. You don't even have that.
There's some things that have to be done immediately, okay? And there's some things that can take time, okay? The immediate stuff is going to be the immediate stuff, okay? Your bonds, your money, all that kind of stuff. Okay, Why you think people gonna get laid off and they're gonna start cutting back on a whole bunch of shit? They already started that stuff. You know, you had 60,000 people dumped off of Section 8. Okay, just in a few months. Okay, those active points. Okay, that's the shift that you're seeing. Okay,
So I'm talking.
hold on. You already had Trump was already putting money into trades and stuff like that, and actually emphasizing boys' education. They're already starting to do that. Okay, but things that's just 4 months. It's gonna take time. Okay, you didn't get it. Go ahead.
I'm talking about to get the men back to invest part. So you said that towards the end with that, but that sounds like okay. We're talking about the outcome. That's what we're talking about.
And okay, the first you have to do is keep the patient alive, man. You have to keep the thing from imploding first. Okay, that's the first
And
job.
that requires the millennials and the T.
No, it requires everybody. Okay,
Well, I mean, as far as the working active.
No. Everybody's gonna feel some pain, including
well,
old
no,
folks.
I get that, but I mean on getting people invested.
It's gonna it's gonna imply everybody's gonna have to be invested in this. Okay, people gonna have to feel some pain. Okay, everybody's gonna get touched by this. Okay, you don't do something this big and just talk about a generation. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm what I'm saying is that the men the alphas are not online yet. All of these are not online yet. As far as the working age, fighting age men, those are millennials and Z. Those are the Z's in particular. The millennials in general are the ones checking out. So you need to stop them from checking out or continuing to check out.
You have slowly convinced them to come back to the table. Okay, they're not all gone. If they were all gone, it'd be too late. They're not all gone. Okay.
Yeah, but they're on the
a lot.
If they were all gone, they wouldn't be screaming about it.
Yeah, they wouldn't be screaming about it. Basically, it'd be too late. Okay.
But they're on the projector.
The thing is, you have to change enough and supply enough to where you can actually get the people on the fence. That's why they got rid of Andrew Tate.
They're not all gone because millennials are still
No.
around.
Even this. Okay. Even the dude. I got Generation A grandchildren. Okay. I got millennial kids. Okay. And I know a bunch of Z's in between. Okay. They're not gone. If they were gone, it'd be too late.
All right. I can go. I do. I'm gonna say this. You got like. I don't really even believe this, but I'm gonna just say this for the sake of argument. You got 10 years. Can't make it happen in 10 years. You might as well not.
What I'm saying is, 10 years is enough to actually change the tide, and that's really what you're trying to change.
Really, I don't believe you have that, but just because people want,
it takes that long. You cannot rejigger human nature. Okay, it doesn't work that way.
Well, yes, and I mean, like I said, I don't even think you really got 10 years to be honest with you. But
if you ain't got 10 years, then it's over. You might as well go ahead and give up.
Yeah, I don't think you because again, even then, that fast for what they're doing, and again,
if you don't have 10 years to change people's minds, because that's what it's going to take to change them for a shift to come like this, okay, where they actually come back to the table and be willing to start making families again, it's going to take 10 years, okay, at least.
Okay? Yeah, not yeah.
I got to go, but I appreciate
appreciate you, Doc.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right. When's your next show? Hold on. When's your next show, Doc?
I haven't decided yet. But it'll be this week though.
So you have an idea what you're gonna do it on?
There's a couple of topics that I'm looking at, but I'm not 100% clear yet.
Okay.
You just kind of caught me off guard today with this.
Well, I didn't think you were gonna come up, man. So, but the thing, this is right. This is in your wheelhouse. So I'm glad you came up.
I appreciate it. Y'all get back to it. I'll be
and send Dr. T his pension.
Thanks,
okay?
Doc.
All right, y'all take it easy.
All right. Go ahead, Ed.
Maybe my problem is I'm thinking specifically more in the black community. I mean, if you're talking about white people, I can definitely see them getting that shit turned because they'll turn those gears enough. And quite frankly, white women understand at a group level that if their means check out, they're not. They're pragmatic, if anything.
If a white man or a white woman's driving the SUV and you're in the back seat and you're gonna hit the wall 100 miles an hour, will you survive?
No, but what I'm saying is black. If we're talking about the black community,
no, we talk about the whole system. We're not talking about just the black community.
I'm not just talking about the black community, but I'm switching back. Switching
we're not even doing that right now because that shit's unimportant, right? We're talking about the whole community. We're talking about the whole system, okay? Because them white bitches are gonna be at the gas station.
Yeah, I don't.
At $3 too, okay?
Yeah.
If the white chicks are out there on the corner for $3, guess what the black one is gonna be? Okay.
Well, what I struggle with is it doesn't matter how much time. The reality is there is not gonna be a scenario where these women are not going back to crazy.
Say what?
Today, 10 years is not gonna be a
bullshit.
You actually believe in 10 years?
Yes. They're already doing it, okay? They're already shifting, okay?
Ain't no women already.
Ain't no 10 million chicks gonna get out there selling their coochie and not want to be married. Okay, impossible. It's not gonna happen.
Let me say this, BGS and Ed. I think, but has to be factored in because I understand where Ed is coming from because we're saying
bullshit.
No, you're right. No, I'm not. No, BGS. I'm not saying you're not right.
Okay,
I'm saying you appreciate that we just haven't seen different. That's what I'm saying.
I'll give you a goddamn example. Remember when the Ukraine war started? Okay.
Yes.
And refugees left. Okay. You had like 20 Ukrainian chicks not selling basically in an alley screwing. Okay, to survive. They'll do what they need to do to survive. Okay. All that shit's gonna go out the window because they have to survive.
I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying, BGS, is me and Ed are the same age, so what we've seen is a level of antagonism and toxicity that, with you being more seasoned, you saw you saw it getting there. We just were there. We were just born in the bullshit. Right, so it's a whole different perspective. We can't even imagine them.
I understand, but you guys are acting like atheists in a foxhole, okay? Until their first show comes in.
Here's the short answer, Mr. D. BGS doesn't believe these women are suicidal. I do.
They're not suicidal. I know they're not.
I do. That's the difference. I'm just letting you know where the difference is. I'm not.
What I'm saying, you're seeing the shit already. Okay, how much?
You wrong. I'm just telling you what.
No. I know. You're seeing the shit already. Why do you think AC Solomon come to reach back?
Shit, like the mental gymnastics where I get all that. Yeah. And those are the smart. And there are ones that it's like a spectrum. Okay. There's women. I get what you're saying.
All right.
There's women that reach back, but I believe the women are suicidal.
I mean, y'all didn't believe me when I said it 10 years ago, and shit it's already happened. Okay, the shit, y'all aren't gonna believe me now until you see it.
Oh, I did. Do I believe white women are suicidal? No. But do I believe black? So I agree with you on the white women.
I've seen black women during the crack era do all kind of strange shit because they needed to survive. Okay, I know better.
And what did they end up doing when that was over?
The thing is, when things went back to normal, okay, and when Big Daddy government actually came in and did what? Start financing it. Okay, did they change up? Yeah, they did because the environment changed, right? Guess what? Big Daddy government doesn't have anymore.
Yeah, so it remains, and there was women that weren't a part of that. I grew up around.
What doesn't Big Daddy government have anymore?
They don't have money.
money.
But they still have not had to come back to their menu. That's the thing.
The thing is, they are coming back to the men. The thing is, will you accept them? The thing is, they have to convince the men to accept them now. Why do you think they go on about?
Do you believe they can do that?
Let me finish saying what I'm saying. Okay, why do you think all this shit's popping up? How come men don't approach or come to a dating?
They're trying to put that language out there so people.
No, the thing is because they need you to come back and start dating. Yeah.
Okay?
Soft begging. Okay.
Yeah. I agree that Tommy Lauren was on there doing it. It was funny to me. I told you,
Why you think? Okay, the thing is, I've been telling you guys that for the past 5 years, right? They need to turn this tide. Okay. Why you think why you think Andrew? I was telling Andrew Tate, unless you're willing to die for this shit, you need to get that shit up. Okay. Because they're
I'm
gonna
still
kill you.
waiting for the offer. Like, you know, like you talking, like I get what you're saying, and you're right in marketing, but like, you know, it's basically like a long like sales pitch. But at the end of the day, I'm still waiting for an offer, and you saying they don't have that yet, even though they know it needs to be done.
What is the offer that you're waiting on?
The offer that I'm waiting for is for national paternity fraud, national marriage reform. You know, get these schools need to actually benefit these boys and not benefit the girls. An acknowledgement, which I'm never going to get, that feminism that needs to be quiet, just like Joy Taylor, quietly not renewed. At the very least,
it's feminism, like he said, with the meta modernism. Okay, feminism is dead.
There you go, bitches. Yeah,
it's dead. Yep. Okay, it's DEAD because shit doesn't work. That's why when Trump went back and stripped all those executive orders, he killed it.
Let me give you a prime example. Ed, well, you know, you may not know her as well. DGS will know. Khadijah got a white man now, y'all. She got a dude. That's the thing. She got a dude.
She's not as queer. She said that queer went right instead of left.
Hey, you see what I'm saying? She got a dude. Hey, they're looking for somewhere to land. She got a dude.
They're looking for some place to land, and basically, and as they say in Margin Call, right? Okay, the music has not stopped. Okay, it's just slowing. Were it to stop, it'd be considerably worse. It ain't stopped yet. You don't want to see what happens when it stops. Go back and look at Weimar Germany in the 20s, okay? That's what happens when it stops. Go look at Argentina in the 70s and 80s. That's what it looks like when it stops. You don't want to see that. If it stops, trust and believe they'd be just like in Greece. They'd be selling their coochie for $10 cents if anybody would take it. And most guys, like I said, like Compassionate Callous said, most guys saying, I can't afford to take these chicks on, okay? It's easier for me to live my life, work for 6 months and bounce. And then bounce someplace else for 6 months.
Well, I will say this, Ed, though. Real quick, Ed, I will say this. I do think they will try to incentivize us.
Yes.
Because they don't have the money. The government don't got the money to subsidize them. They just don't. They don't. And the slugfest they go and try to wage against China right now, they can't afford it. Even if they had the money, it takes too much time. They don't have we don't have the faculties. They don't have the faculties. They just don't.
And you don't have the faculty. You don't have infrastructure. You don't have the people trained to do this shit no more. You have to literally. It's going to take at least 15 years to rebuild this shit. Okay, at least 15.
And it's all white people's fault. Yeah, all that stuff you said, those are the decisions they make.
It is the decision they make. They have to unmake them. Okay, but where do we live though?
I mean, I get all of that, but the reason why I'm the reason why I'm even saying that is because you have a lot of pedestrian white folks. They like to play into all the immigrant fault.
The pedestrian white folks know exactly where the blame is on. They know it's not the immigrants' fault. They know where the blame is.
Or the black. That's why I'm kind of
they know where the blame is. Okay, they know. That's how come Biden got dumped on his head. They know where the blame is. It's not black folks. Huh? Say what?
They're gaslight. I'm talking about the pedestrian white folks, not the white folks. No, they're basically gaslight. On the ground.
Even the pedestrian white folks know better. Okay, they know that you didn't do it. They know that the women run wild and they've been getting short in the stick. That's how come they're not marrying. Okay.
Even a lot of these traditional conservatives, I'm really getting annoyed by how cuckoo a lot of them are.
Let me say this, Ed.
You always gonna have true believers, man. Go ahead.
BGS, if you listen to even Kim Foster. That whole this gender war thing is for the birds type talk. That's her trying to moonwalk out. When you see people like that are too smart and too prideful to apologize, but they slowly moonwalking out, they see what's coming.
Yeah,
she know what we in for. She knows she moonwalking out. Khadijah that got her man. They all gonna be moonwalking out. It's done. They see all the smart crazies. They see it. They ain't that crazy, right?
And they warned people. Okay, they've already warned people. Okay, the people at the top are warning their acolytes is filtering. Shit always rolls down from the top. Okay, it doesn't start at the bottom. It rolls down from the top. Right, this stuff is filtering down. Okay, and the Section 8 people at the bottom are filtering up. Okay, in other words, when you lay off 60,000 people, which mostly are white women, off of Section 8, and start changing the rules, that they're crashing out about this shit already. Well, remember about them changing the what a dependent was to actually get benefits? Okay, they're crashing out already.
Yeah.
There's limits to a lot of the programs too now, like 2-year limits.
Yeah. The condemned man, $50. Appreciate your overtime fee. What I'm saying, the thing is, okay, that's why I need you guys to start reading history, okay? Because how movements happen and how they change. Shit does not turn on a dime like that, okay? I've been calling this shit since I first got here, okay? Now you can actually start seeing the shit start to roll out, okay? And this shit takes time. You do something. A civilization this big and this unwieldy does not turn on a dime. It can't do it. It'll break itself. So what they slowly, and Trump has actually accelerated most of this, and they're still crying.
Yeah, you know, my issue is, and when I say my issue, I don't mean my issue with saying, I mean actually my issue here. This is where I get like young Grizzly, where I want an acknowledgement that this shit fucked up. I don't want what black people do is they be quiet when they're wrong. And I know I'm not gonna get that, so I'm mad. That's basically what
we're saying is the people at the top are already starting to acknowledge it. Okay.
Like you hear, like I've heard the white women you're talking about. Sade plays one of them. I've heard others. They kind of, because that's how they know when they got to change something and still preserve as much as what they can. They know they got to acknowledge this is that black women not have the ability to apologize for.
But Ed, it's go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mr. Hold on, Ed. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah.
So I don't think black women are going to approach it the same. I think it's a bit of what you're saying. I think they're just going to start talking different. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to. They're just going to start talking different. So they're slowly going to start talking different. The white women are coming up to white women and saying, "Hey, we done fucked up. We got to go the other direction." That's not what black women are going to do. Black women just going to slowly moonwalk out of that, and other black women get the cue and slowly moonwalk out of that
until they start hitting the streets, and then it'll be just like that girl in the gas station with this looking for $3 and quarters. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I said I definitely don't. And I get you're saying white women are more important in this way because they're majority population. So I get that, but I definitely, just like Paul Pierce said, white women apologize. When white women know there's something that's at stake, they will do that.
Yeah.
That's why what's the most important is I give you that. But like when it comes to like the black community, this race treachery, all this shit that we can be put through, black men, you better not try to renew another stepdaddy life insurance policy.
Fuck all that. You fuck the apology. I want to change the behavior. Okay, fuck the apology. That's lip service. I want to fucking change the behavior. That's what I want.
Oh, you're not. Well, they're not going to do that either.
They have to.
No. And let me say this.
Black women are suicide.
There's going to be a couple that's going to be under the bridge out of pride. You're right. Even if BGS disagree with me or not, that one I'll stand on. There will be a couple of them that will be. No, the majority will not. No, I agree with you. I don't think they built for it. They're not built for it. They pop that shit. They're not built for it. A couple of them, they'll be in their car, but not most of them.
Yeah,
60% on that bullshit.
Because all of a sudden, they was talking about known 50-50. Now all of a sudden, 50-50 is acceptable now. Okay.
Have you heard that?
Yeah. No, I've been seeing a couple of videos.
It's very prevalent now. It's not a couple. It's a whole bunch of them. Okay.
Oh, I need to get back to TikTok.
Even on them chicks that Anton has on, all them gynocrats that Anton has on, man, all of a sudden they started to clamp down. Okay, it's already starting to shift.
Yeah, I mean,
if the bar,
go ahead.
This is the thing. Ed, think about this. If the white woman bar that you're trying to achieve changes, then you got to change. That bar is changing. That goal is it's not the same anymore.
My thing is fuck the change. The reason why I want that acknowledgement is because they change today, they change tomorrow. That changing is some fickle crap too. And what black men
No,
better
that's true.
not
That's true.
do is fall for that okie doke. That's what I meant when I said cocooning. Because the environment's changing now, we got to hibernate the bullshit. And now dudes are sitting there trying to accelerate helping them, which is essentially a bailout rather than move it on.
And the dudes are not accelerating helping them. Dudes are going there. In fact, they're running away the opposite way, and they're trying to.
Yeah, no, I agree. They haven't. They haven't done it yet.
Why you think? Why you think those flights to Colombia and DR are full?
I've seen the video.
Why you think they're full? Does that look like it's slowing down?
Nah, I've been telling people,
60% of your Z's or don't date. Okay, does it look like it's slowing down?
Yeah, wait till hey, Mr. Z, am I wrong? Do you think it's over when Grand Theft Auto 6 come out? These kids ain't coming outside.
It was over when COVID changed the game completely. Okay, because it made black men, all men, sit for 6 months and hold their nuts without no pussy. Okay, so wait a minute, I got more money, more time, and less headache. It's not a bad deal.
I think there's very few things I've ever agreed with you more on, BGS. I think that really, really changed when all men in the West, well, all men on planet Earth realized, you know what, I could actually go without it.
I was saying that shit at the time when it was getting ready to happen. I said this is going to see a major shift after this.
No, that's changed the game. To Ed's question, and let me answer your question. I do think Grand Theft Auto. I do think that changed. Think about it. When you hear the Richard Reeves and the Scott Galloway speaking, they're actually saying that like the men are getting used to this kind of fast food way of dealing with life, which is the video games, the porn, the internet porn, the facsimiles of life, and that's one of Scott Galloway's biggest gripes. When you look at Richard Reeves, that's why you hear Richard Reeves. He's trying to modify the way he goes about it, interview to interview, excuse me. Which is like, you gotta, yes, man, it's a real man thing to overproduce. That's him trying to encourage white guys mainly, but to add on extra.
That is the propaganda that they have to push to reset the system. Because guess who's overproducing right now? The Chinese, okay?
Yeah,
and the Koreans. And basically, and guess what hasn't happened in a very long time because you disincentivize the men, okay?
Somebody said that the first thing you could ever do, it was a black dude, I forget who it was, that said is have a black man that's from the hood, go to college, get a degree, get a good degree, and end up working at McDonald's, and other people see it, like younger people see that. Essentially, you're in a similar situation with white dudes, where this is some stuff Mike Rowe has talked about. One question, one statement, and I'm done. I know you gotta go. The statement is that the AI video is starting to get into arms race territory. So Google with Gemini came up with V3. Y'all should check it out. It's cool. I'm definitely about to be working on some memes with it. You'll see that in the Telegram, and if y'all in my Discord, because that's crazy what they got going on. But I'm a part of other platforms too. And the other platforms have not only rolled out their version, it's not as good, but it's pretty good. They've also lowered the cost, which means it's starting to be cheaper to produce videos now. So this stuff is accelerating. And I say that, DeepSeek also had an update too. So.
Technology doesn't get worse; it only gets better.
So that's I'm about to end out. Accelerated rate, and we're halfway through.
The thing is, okay, once the contract was broken, all boys had to see is there a different way of doing things. That's a better way of doing things. Men always do that, right? It's going to be very difficult to have them take the old contract. It's not going to work, okay? The old contract is dead, okay?
And with that being,
let me say this. Real quick, because I'm about to end out. I think if it looked like what it might look like with the Meg thing, it's done. It's done anyway. But if that turned out to be what we think it might be, with the Meg Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez thing, if that turned out, if in let's say 2-3 months, maybe 6 months, Tory Lanez is walking out of jail. Like the death penalty is already in black women's back. It's really over. They have nowhere else to go if that happens. Especially once I saw that Congress member that female congressmember take up the story, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, and she is a U.S. Congresswoman, right?
Yes.
Okay, not just the state. Okay, somebody probably say state. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I think
that's all I want to say. And I'll pause right there. Y'all have a great rest of y'all stream.
Yeah, so I want
the rest of it is it's gonna be right after Ed finishes. So we
this is my I know this is my last question though. What do you think about all this? Every black man is like abusing the chick stuff. So you got Zion, obviously this is on the backdrop of the Diddy situation. Like this idea that they're going after these dudes, these young dudes. Every time you turn around, it's like an abuse case, and they're hustling these dudes out.
You're talking about trying to hustle these dudes back to the table. Is that what you're saying?
Well, hustle these dudes by saying like with a civil case on sexual assault. That's like the new stick-up program.
Oh yeah.
Like you think that's gonna affect
any place there's money, there's always gonna be an incentive. Okay.
But do you think that's gonna is that gonna influence like the cultural zeitgeist over and over?
People with money, especially at that level, don't like being crash test dummies. Okay, they're gonna scare them off. Okay. Probably needs to be scared off because they got way too out of dealing with these kind of chicks. Okay, so do I feel sorry for them? No, because
there's going to be an overall correction. That's all.
It's because women are predatory. Okay, if they see money, they're going to take advantage of it. Okay, so
you think they're not going to have to make up because these things constantly happening, being promoted in the media.
Eventually, people will get fatigued, okay? And it said, okay, you know what? You're like the 100th person that actually did that shit. We're not going to lose any money because you decided to scream and try to cancel somebody because it's not going to work.
Okay.
That's like a Me Too's losing its steam. Me Too's losing.
Cue up the clock with Travis Hunter.
Yes. Oh, well, I hope not, man. I hope he's married for 4 years.
I hope he stays in his blue pill bubble and he has a happily ever after. With that being said, we're halfway through the year, guys.
Hey, we need to send her a copy of Sierra's prayer, okay?
We're not even halfway through the year, guys.
Yeah. So, but he wouldn't be the first, man. It happens all the time. Anyway, all right, you guys. You guys got your closing thoughts in?
Yeah. Thank you for having me up. Yes, and I've been trying to catch your streams, bro, but both of us be streaming all different type of things. Type of times.
Hey, you know why that is, Mr. Z? You know why that is? Because you niggas are reckless, man. Y'all do reckless.
I'll be reckless.
Ed is the originator of the reckless stream, okay?
Yeah, I stream at like 3 o'clock in the morning, man.
Nah, I don't do that. See, that I can't do. But because I'll be taking my little Z's.
I said, where the fuck is Ed going this time of morning, man? Does he sleep? Anyhow. All right, you guys.
All right, peace out.
All right, peace out. Later.
What can I say? Mamba out.
Muzyka Denis Siedem.